a rookie FBI agent.
Found a girl's body down in West Virginia.
Are you saying that he's killed again?
I'll help you catch him, Clarice.
A psychiatrist turned psychopath.
Yes, and now, Clarice. Poor little Catherine is waiting.
Opposites with one attraction.
Tell me his name, doctor.
Now,
Lecter's missing hand arm.
her life hangs in the balance.
Man's a raving maniac. Who knows what he'll do?
The Silence of the Lambs. Rated R.
I just want to let this song play. Everybody, listeners, welcome to our iTunes.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween,
it's our first
guys.
episode of October.
Happy October. Happy spooky season officially.
Oh, we have been waiting. We've been holding this movie since the podcast began.
Sure. I've been holding a couple of things, but this movie in particular.
There we go.
Listeners, my name's Pete.
And I'm Scott. And these are the movies that made us gay. Our annual October lineup.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to talk about this movie.
If you can believe it.
And by the opening theme, you can probably guess what we are introing the month with.
Yes.
The Silence of the Lambs.
Absolutely.
Released February 14th, 1991, directed by Jonathan Demme, adapted by Ted Talley from the book by Thomas Harris. Donovan.
Hello.
Welcome back to the show. One of our favorite guests.
Oh, thanks, guys.
And I feel like
welcome back.
I had just mentioned that I thought that Pete and I were just going to do a Silence of the Lambs episode by ourselves because this has always been one that I kind of thought,
right,
we're eventually going to do it, but maybe Pete and I will just hold it for 1 week where it's just us. But you are a big Silence of the Lambs universe fan, so you had
that
to
I
come
could join
onto
you
this.
for this. I like. Yeah.
It's a good one to be a guest on.
I got up and I tucked myself just like Buffalo Bill. And I moved out to this. Unironically, I really love this song.
No, it's a great song.
It's in my my most played iTunes. I think it's in my top 20.
Yeah,
I listen to it like weekly.
Same. It's in my like on repeat on Spotify.
Mm-hmm.
It's always a thing when it comes up, and I've listened to music at work, and it comes up in the office, and I'm like, I hope no one's like thinking anything.
Is this
about
weird?
Me right now.
It's a really good. If you're ever out at a bar and they have a jukebox, it's my go-to song to play on a jukebox at a bar,
just to see what the vibes are like when it plays.
Yeah, if you know, you know.
If you know, you know. The girls who know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The girlies love some Q Lazarus.
Yes, we do. And I am a huge Hannibal fan. I've read all of the books. I've seen all the movies. I'm a big fan of the show. We'll get into all of it. But thank you for having me here. I'm so
the whole
excited.
Thomas
you're
Harris
so welcome.
Lambs universe. I'm excited to talk about.
Yeah, I was
going to
say, what is it called? Is it the Lambs universe?
I don't know.
Does
Hannibal?
I mean, I feel like Hannibal
it's-
is the character that
it's
has
just
it all together.
Hannibal.
Yeah, the Hannibal universe.
Definitely.
I mean, I remember I'm the one that remembers this from in being in theaters and kind of just kind of like the thoughts of like, the general public, the kind of like feeling.
I mean,
of
it
what
was
going
a
on.
huge deal when it came out in '91.
And the first movie that's kind of in the Hannibal universe, it's Manhunter, right?
Which I watched for the first time last night. I had never seen it.
And Manhunter was a big movie, but it was not Silence of the Lambs huge, right?
No.
This movie was a phenomenon.
It surprisingly made very little money at the box office, too.
Right. But what I remember of the time, this movie comes out in 1991. And let's see, I didn't do the math, 78. I'm 13. I'm not even 13 yet.
7th grade.
Because it's January.
7th, 8th grade.
It's January when it's released, 91. It's actually February. It was released January, New York, February wide. So it probably came to L.A. in January as well. At the beginning of the year, I'm still 12. I remember my mom saying like, ooh, scary, Hannibal the Cannibal. And I'm like, what? Who is that? What is that? And she remembered from Manhunter. And I just kind of remember that it was just talked about as being so scary. This movie is scary.
And your mom's a big reader, too, so she was probably familiar with the book, too.
Yes, I'm sure she read, the books as well. So, but I just remember hearing that this movie is scary. This movie is, it's going to be huge. It's going to be this gigantic hit. like I said, I was very much into watching like MTV News and like the movie specials and like entertainment news and all that stuff, and it was just everywhere. And me, 12-year-old dummy, I'm like, okay, I got to see it.
You got to get in on that.
Not knowing really what it is, not really understanding the whole like FBI procedural like aspect of it, but just thinking, okay, it's about this like serial killer and like somebody's a cannibal and like, to me as a kid, I'm watching it and I'm like, oh, okay, well, Anthony Hopkins is like the bad guy. This movie's got so layered, but what the hell do I know? So I talk my best friend in elementary school, Ed. I was like, hey, Ed, let's go to the movies. Let's go see The Silence of the Lambs. Like, what is it? I'm like, I don't know. It's scary. Okay. It's rated R.
Yeah.
We're 12. We get dropped off at the movie theater. And
what movie were you supposed to see?
2 tickets to 3 Men and a Little Lady, please.
Hell yes.
The 1:30 in the afternoon
that's
showing.
So funny.
Oh
that's like a Simpsons gag.
Yeah.
Full circle. I did the same thing when Hannibal Rising.
Hey.
Came out. Yes.
What did you buy? What ticket did you buy for Hannibal Rising?
Oh God.
The little lady goes to college.
I don't even remember what it was, honestly. But me and my friend in middle school, we used to do this thing where we would get dropped off at the movies and just movie hop all day.
Oh
You know
yeah.
what I
We
mean?
used to movie hop too. Yeah, for sure. This is pre like choose your seats.
Yep,
all that
exactly.
stuff. You had, when you lined up for a movie, you lined up for the movie, and you didn't know where you're going to sit. And you could movie hop, and we did the same thing. But I talked poor Ed into go seeing Silence of the Lambs at 12. And we went in, and we saw it. I don't know that I got or understood any of it. I just know that I knew Jodie Foster.
Yeah.
I was aware of her as an actor, and was just like, okay, she's doing this. She's putting on a character. She's just doing what Jodie does, putting on a character. And
iconic power lesbian.
Your anagrams are showing, Doctor.
And certain things I just went over my head. Certain things I was like, holy shit, big moments in the movie. I'm just like, oh, this is scary.
When you saw him tuck and dance to the song, what were you thinking at 12 years old?
I don't know. I just thought that he was just like a crazy, sexy guy that just like to hide his candy for his like video camera. We all did it at that age.
That's true.
And also, not for nothing, but like Buffalo Bill's all like gross and craggy, but like when he's got that shirt off and he's dancing around, I'm like,
Buffalo, he could get it.
this body is working.
Yeah, Ted Levine can kind of get
this
it.
body is
Body,
right.
yaddy,
The body is right. And I'm like, oh my
Buffalo
goodness.
Bill's serving cunt this entire movie.
C-U-N-T.
He's definitely giving us very love Connie. And Connie, I think, says that on our show too.
Yeah,
like
she did,
proud,
she did.
like
John,
Buffalo Bill.
Thank you, John,
winner of the Buffalo Bill lookalike contest.
for giving us that little bit. But yeah, he's feeling like pussy, feeling like cunt, like throughout this whole movie. And as a kid, I'm just like, work. Okay, I don't know. I'm feeling some type of way. The body is working. I think that's the first time I ever saw a pierced nipple.
Sure.
In 1991.
Yeah.
I'm all about like MTV and like I'm like full on Gen X loud and proud. So I'm here for
watching Real Sex
the
on HBO.
The Jim Rose Circus Side show at Lollapalooza, and these people like hammering nails into their noses and shit. So I'm like kind of familiar with body piercing at the time, but I think that was the first time I saw a pierced nipple in a movie.
Yeah.
How real it is, I don't know. Could be a prosthetic. Could be Ted Levine's pierced nipple.
Yeah,
I don't know. But yeah, I was just like, oh, okay. And then like kind of years later, as I would watch the movie, revisit the movie and be like, holy shit, this movie is like fucking good. And it's still scary. And I'm still gagged. Like I wish that I had seen it a little bit older because I feel like I don't remember certain things. I don't remember what the audience reaction was when we found out that they went to the wrong house.
Yes.
And she went to the right house. And we're just like, like at home even watching it, I'm just like, Jodie. But like I can imagine being in a movie theater and just not knowing that and seeing that shit. And like Anthony Hopkins' performance is wild. But it's he's making choices. But it's
Iconic.
Great. It's great.
Iconic,
Yeah. So
Oscar award-winning performance.
yeah, I mean, we got to talk about the sweep that this movie pulled off. But yeah, I saw it. I have the memory of it, but I also feel like so much of it went over my head. But it was a very formative movie for me. I've always loved horror movies and psychological thrillers, if you will. Psychological thrillers. But yeah, loves it. And I was there. in 91.
Cool. So jealous.
What's your background with this movie?
Well, obviously, I'm a little bit younger, so I was born in '92. So this movie, again, I feel like I've been on this podcast a couple times, and I always talk about like my mom was like the movie connoisseur of the family and really helped inform and shape a lot of my taste in film. So this film was on heavy rotation in the house. So it just was always something that I kind of grew up with, and you know, fortunately or unfortunately, my parents didn't really censor what was watched in the household. So, you know, R-rated movies were on, and I would just watch them. But I remember when Hannibal came out in 2001, that's when I kind of really started getting into this. And I watched this movie because it was the prequel to Hannibal, and was obsessed with the movie Hannibal when that came out. And then just subsequently, like Red Dragon came out. My mom took me to go see that in the movie theater, and just became a huge fan of like the Hannibal Lecter character and all the other
read all the books.
I read all of the
I
books.
think that you were that type of kid that would have brought the book Silence of the Lambs or Hannibal when you were doing like silent sustained reading, and you had to get the word that you had to look up in the dictionary as like your vocab word.
I was literally that kid in like
because
6th, 7th grade.
I did that with Hannibal.
Yeah,
the book
and the teachers kind of like raised eyebrow of like, do you parents know that you're reading this book? Yeah,
I read the Vampire Chronicles during silent sustained reading in middle school and high school. So.
Of course,
yes, you did.
That tracks.
Love that for you.
Yeah.
So my background with Silence of the Lambs is I think I remember seeing clips of this movie just on basic cable, kind of when it would start to be run on TV, and specifically it's the scenes with Brooke. The scariest, the most fucked up scenes of the movie, because I really remember all of that really kind of burning into my brain that she's in this pit.
Sure.
I don't know if I watched the scene where she is holding Precious, but I definitely remember Brooke in the pit.
Yes. What is her character? We love Catherine Martin.
We love
Catherine Martin.
Yeah,
Icon.
We stand a big girl.
A big mouth bitch.
She about size 14.
And this actress is so great. Brooke,
Size 14. You're about size 14.
Was she a great fat person?
You know, Scott, okay, sidebar. Scott's been all over us today to watch the Roger the Alien Clarice Starling impression, which is great.
Listen, Roger, it's Rogers. Roy Rogers McFreely. And I hate to waste a good spotlight. You see a lot, Dr. Lecter. But are you strong enough to point that high-powered perception at yourself? How about it? Look at yourself and write down the truth. Or maybe you're afraid to.
Well, that was good.
But related to that, I don't know if either of you know this, but Seth Green modeled his original voice performance of Chris Griffin on Buffalo Bill.
I didn't know
If you watch season 1, Chris Griffin is very much like, "Hey, Dad. Hey, Meg, what's going on?" Like, he's doing it really low, and he's doing his. And he said, like Seth Green says, like, I had this Buffalo Bill impression that would always get laughs, and like. He
had to put it in somewhere.
He asked me to, create this character for the teenage son, and I was like, "That's it. It's going to be that." And and he did, and it's evolved since then.
And he ends up
really,
kind of going to a little higher register.
It doesn't sound like that anymore, like any animated character. But if you watch season 1, it's there. It's full on Buffalo Bill.
We'll talk more about Brooke Smith's performance later because she's one of my favorite parts of the movie.
Yeah.
But I remember when the book Hannibal came out a few years before the movie, and there was buzz with that book pretty much immediately.
Oh my God, the book is wild.
They were going to be making a movie of this, and Jodie Foster, I don't know if she read the book. She may have read a plot synopsis of the book, and she was like, "I'm going to pass on this movie."
Yeah, so they sent her and Anthony Hopkins not a screener, but like a pre-advanced copy of the book. Because they knew immediately they were going to make a film of it, and they sent it to Jonathan Demme and all the key players. And if you know the ending of the book Hannibal,
it's crazy.
It is cuckoo bananas.
And I remember my
Crazier
stepdad,
than the movie, 'cause
and
that was
I remember
wild.
my stepdad reading it at the time, and he was like, "That book is garbage." Like, that book is garbage, mama.
This is garbage,
like,
that's garbage, mama.
And he immediately called the movie changes of, well, they're going to have to change the ending of that book. Like
Sure. They're not gonna be able to do it.
You can't have Starling like right off into the sunset with Hannibal Lecter. Like that's not going to fly.
Become hypnotized.
No
and fall
spoiler
in love with
alert
them.
with
my
like
God.
the ending of the book Hannibal.
22-year-old book.
It is not great. And I remember I read the book at the time, getting ready for the movie, and I don't know if I had ever actually seen all of Silence of the Lambs in one sitting. And
Oh, my
I
goodness,
remember
Scott.
I remember us all watching it, kind of getting ready for the movie.
Yeah.
And I remember we went to Hannibal with my dad and my sister, and I think probably like her boyfriend or friend or something. So it was like a family like movie night that we all went to the Judith Theater to see Hannibal.
That's so cute.
And
I love that.
To see
And I feel like
Ray Liotta
kind of
getting a lobotomy.
yeah.
You know?
And I do have to say, I mean, we can do a whole entire Hannibal episode later,
rather
just
not.
because that
I'd rather
movie,
not.
that movie is so fucking batshit that it would be fun to do an entire episode
Yeah,
on.
no, you're
Yeah,
right.
But
That's crazy.
I do remember thinking my hot take was, it's better than the book.
Yeah.
Hannibal, sure.
Hannibal the movie.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I mean, I'm call me a romantic, but like, I do love the idea of them, you know, falling for each other. Or he at least definitely has feelings for her because that's
Sure.
very evident in the movie Hannibal.
I'll have to get my hands on the new 4K because Ridley Scott does commentaries
It's
on all
great.
of his movies, and I'm
Yeah.
sure that he probably goes into if they considered keeping it in or if it was always out of the picture to begin with.
I've listened to the commentary and I've, you know, on all my research, it was very, I think, very clear that they had to change the ending
Yeah.
pretty much as soon as they started production for the movie.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
I remember watching Hannibal, or more so Silence of the Lambs, at that time in high school when I was kind of more seriously trying to get into movies and
Yeah.
reading about movies, had kind of my subscriptions to movie magazines. I had like movie encyclopedias and
Yeah.
just kind of learning about movie history. And that kind of stuff was really fun to talk about with my stepdad. And I remember talking about the character of Hannibal a lot with Don, my stepdad.
Cool.
Because Don's hot take on Hannibal was always on like AFI lists of like greatest villains of all time.
Absolutely.
But if you kind of watch the movie closely,
Is he a villain?
is he a villain? And that's what I think really intrigued Don about that character.
Yeah.
Is that
I mean,
he's-
he is a
yeah.
murderer who ate several of his victims.
ate
But he
several
only
of his
eats the
victims. He kills a lot of people,
Innocent police officer.
innocent police officers,
Yeah, it's like
nurses.
through necessity.
Yeah.
but kind of this interesting amoral character
Yeah.
of that there's kind of this weird like code to him.
Yeah, code, like a code of ethics in terms
Right,
of
yeah.
who he decides to kill and eat. He kills
Right.
people who he considers rude,
Right.
or in the books he kills a member of the symphonic
Okay.
or philharmonic rather because they're a bad player.
Got it. Yeah. That's very Hannibal.
Is he the one that meets their untimely end in Florence? Like all of his guts get like spilled out in the square.
Well, that's the police officer that's
Okay,
chasing him.
sure.
Yeah, but he also kills the police officer because the police officer is crooked and takes that deal with Mason Verger instead of just doing the right thing and handing him over to the FBI. Yeah.
And like Pete, like you mentioned before, of that when you revisit this movie as an adult, I mean, it fucking holds up.
for sure.
So my opinion, as somebody who's not invested in the Hannibal extended universe, is that
HCU.
yes, is that this movie, pun intended, eats Hannibal for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and leaves zero crumbs. Like Hannibal's great. It's Ridley Scott. It's Julianne Moore. Love it. That movie.
I mean, it's a very different type of movie.
Yeah.
too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so over
And
the top.
and this movie is just so like it's just iconic as a film.
Yeah,
It is.
Like
The
just
screen-
as a movie.
The
as a
screenplay
moment,
is pretty
you know?
tight. Like
Yeah.
you couldn't lose any of the scenes of the script
It does
of
all
this
of
movie.
It does really, really good like screenplay 101 shit.
Yeah.
You know, there's really good exposition that comes across kind of like Clarice learns everything as we, the audience, are learning
Yeah.
it, and the way she learns it is kind of like explaining it to us, but not spoon feeding it to us because she's not a full agent yet. She's still going through, training at like Quantico or whatever. we as the audience get to be like, okay, we're kind of learning with her, and that's like so like fulfilling, like as a watcher, you know. And you know, they're always paying things off, setting things up, and paying them off. And when she finds out things about, you know, pattern making and all that stuff, because I'm watching it going, how did she put two and two? How could she possibly put two and two together? And then I was like, oh, shit, when she goes to the house and sees the dress patterns, I'm like, it's so perfect. You know, so it's just got this really great script that, like, you know, it does all the right things for the audience to follow along and not feel like, oh, called it. You know, you're just like, well, yeah, of course you called it. They showed to you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that twist when she shows up at the house, I can't even imagine like being in the theater and seeing that in 91. It probably would have, people were lost their damn mind. And this movie is so influential because I feel like it ushered in a wave of crime procedurals.
Oh my God.
I mean, like all of those Ashley Judd, Morgan Freeman movies.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, absolutely.
David Fincher has a, I mean, Jonathan Demme.
Yeah. You know, Tarsim Singh, the director who did The Cell.
Yeah.
He talks about on that commentary, he's like, I don't care about procedurals. I don't care about solving mysteries or like crimes or any of that stuff. Those movies sold tickets. And if I was going to direct a studio movie, they said, pick a procedural and make one.
Yeah,
he makes.
And he's like,
he made an art house.
Yeah.
Sure did.
Yeah, and he made an art house.
Art house episode of CSI.
Yeah, a really faggoty, like artistic, like procedural out of it. So
you mentioned something about the script kind of being so affected. So this movie is adapted by Ted Talley, and I was reading a little bit about the production of the movie. Of this movie, or this book was a huge bestseller, primarily in paperback. Like, it really caught on in the 80s when it was making the rounds in bookstores when it went to softcover.
Well, I would imagine this book's probably like 900 pages or something.
No, it's really not.
It's not? Okay.
No, it's like a tight, like 300-400 page book.
Sweet,
and
even better.
And literally the book follows the script rather follows the book exactly.
Oh, cool.
Because it's like
I'd love to
3 or 4 pages in and she's already going
Sure.
down to see Hannibal in the dungeon.
Okay.
Yeah.
This dungeon.
So, so this book was, the rights for this book were bought by Orion Pictures with the intention that Gene Hackman was going to star and direct. And when things fell through Hackman, who got the screenwriter involved because he liked one of his previous movies, or like one of his previous scripts. It's the one with James Spader and Susan Sarandon. The name of it is escaping me right now. But it was offered to Jonathan Demme to direct this movie, and he originally passed on it thinking that it was going to be a slasher. And then he was given the book, and Jonathan was like, okay, like there's potential in this material, because what he liked about it was that it had a strong moral center, and its center is from a female perspective.
Yes, and we really get that kind of nailed. Or hammered home.
Hammered in.
I don't have any good analogies, but you know, you do get a lot of like Starling's POV of the male-dominated
versus the male gaze. Of
Well, I mean, especially just kind
in
of
law enforcement.
The opening shot of the movie is that she's climbing a hill too.
She's running up that hill.
If she's running up that hill, Kate Bush style.
Bitch, can we talk about Brian Cox being the original screen Dr. Lecter?
Yeah. Brian Cox's performance is intense. Like, you really believe that guy eats people.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I was thinking about last night when I watched Manhunter, and then I finished season 1 of Hannibal the TV show, which we can talk about that later. But what I was really thinking about is at the time a movie revolving around a female police officer or training FBI agent. It revolves around a female. And what had audiences really seen of women in the police force prior to something like Silence of the Lambs?
They'd seen Policewoman starring Angie Dickinson.
I was going to say Policewoman from the 80s, but what I was thinking about was that they're primarily television, because we got Policewoman with Angie Dickinson. There's some female cops on Chips. Pete and I watch a lot of episodes of Chips late night.
Oh, okay.
So
it's actually
night viewing.
It's pretty fierce.
There's some female police officers on Chips, but they're pretty much like eye candy.
Sure.
Like, there's not a lot of
They're not
character
taken
there.
seriously.
And we cannot forget Cagney and Lacey.
We can't forget Cagney and Lacey.
So kind of Cagney and
but
Lacey did kind of pave that way for a character
they
like
did
Clarice.
because they were detectives, right?
Yeah.
They were police detectives. I want to say New York, but if you told me right now Cagney and Lacey was set in like Baltimore or something, I'd be like, work.
Sure.
And also, we cannot forget the short-lived 1987 sitcom starring Suzanne Summers. She's the sheriff.
Not she's the sheriff.
Wow.
I mean, you want to talk about portrayals of lady cops? No, you're absolutely right.
Or it was something like Police Academy, Pete.
Sure.
Yeah,
Where it was just kind of look at these hot
was a
ladies
joke.
like
Yeah.
walking
Oh,
around
joke.
in these
Yeah.
tight cop uniforms.
yeah.
Yeah.
They either were busty, they were tiny and had like a baby squeaky voice,
Yeah.
or they were like a big butch,
Yeah.
broad.
Yeah,
But
so
so this is really kind of showing the world like maybe what it's like to be in law enforcement. And Jodie, it kind of shows how perfect Jodie Foster is for this role because she is what, 5'2"?
Yeah.
Jodie Foster's so little.
Interesting about the casting with Jodie Foster of when
talk about
when,
this, 'cause this is wild.
When Demi got involved, Jonathan Demme has a working relationship with Michelle Pfeiffer. They had done Married to the Mob with each other, which Married to the Mob also, the first time that Goodbye Horses is in a movie, it's in Married to the Mob.
Oh.
So like Jonathan Demme, that was in like his mixtape rotation in his car. So he just had to put it in both movies.
Yeah.
But Demme, of course, offered the role to Michelle Pfeiffer just because they had a working relationship with each other. Demme, as a director, works with a lot of the same actors in each movie.
Yeah.
I've been watching a lot of Demme movies
lot of
this
stock
year.
players.
Of that, when I log all of them in my letterbox, the same actors come up for all of these movies. I've watched like 6 Charles Napier movies this year.
Hey, that's London, England.
London, England.
London, England.
Listeners, you might remember him
Feed my
from
fish.
from
not
Austin
too much.
Powers.
So he's in a lot of Jonathan Demme movies.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very
So far, he's
interesting.
been in all of them that I've watched.
Wow.
Something Wild, Philadelphia. Like,
And he usually just plays like little interstitial side character kind of a thing.
So,
Pfeiffer turned it down, and
Michelle
she's
was
kicking
just
herself
like,
to this
I
day.
think it's just
mean-
too dark for me. I'm turning it down. And
Big
Jodie
mistake.
was
Huge.
in
Huge.
contact with Ted Talley,
Jodie
who
was in
wrote it.
contact?
Like she
was in contact.
I think that Ted kind of offered her, you should look at this movie.
Yeah,
and
right.
Jodie just tracked Jonathan down of, I need to be in this movie.
Yeah.
And Jonathan Demme says that he knew that she was the Clarice Starling when he first met her and she was walking towards him down the hallway. Of that is the walk of the character. Like she was just determined, I'm going to get this role.
Yeah.
She had her car keys and a carabiner on a belt loop.
Yeah. She just had that, lesbian walk.
He said, "That's the girl." In like early 1990.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Michelle Pfeiffer is just,
Is she too beautiful?
Well, here's the thing. I hate, as a man, when I talk about a woman to just bring up their
Harp on
beauty,
her
or their
beauty,
physical
yeah.
appearance or
Yeah.
whatever. Because Michelle Pfeiffer is a great actress.
She is.
She
Absolutely.
is empirically a beautiful woman. And it's hard to not talk about it. But you're kind of right. I don't know. Is it something that we as the audience would? I don't think that I would be like, I don't buy it. Fuck that movie.
I wouldn't be taken
I
out
think
of it.
I think the material is that good that I think she would have been successful with it.
Yeah,
Totally.
And she's good, So like she would have been able to, to bring something to this character. But I think that Jodie's kind of like, maybe her good looks are a little bit more like how would you describe, like patrician,
I would say,
or like
well, Michelle Pfeiffer has a very like the way she carries herself. There's an assuredness and a confidence, whereas I feel like Jodie Foster does a good job of also playing a lot of like, not naivete is not the right word,
Right.
but inexperience.
Sure.
Yeah.
And Jodie at
She's
the time,
figuring this all out as she goes.
Yeah, and at the
Yep.
time she would have read a lot younger than
Michelle Pfeiffer.
So
That's
it's
true,
like
too.
that
Yeah.
really plays into the character of like she is in the FBI Academy. She is a trainee.
This was also Jodie coming off of a Best Actress Oscar
Yes,
win too.
man.
So I think
Did
that,
she get 2 years in a row, or was
No.
there one in between?
I believe
year
the,
two in
the
between.
accused was
Yeah.
88, so she would have won it in 89. And I mean, she would have been cast in this movie
Yeah.
roughly around 89.
Sure. So that was a winner
So
in between.
I think that she really needed that type of leverage to
Yeah.
get a role like
Right, yeah.
Clarice Starling. I
Yeah.
mean, that Oscar win is debated a lot with people that love the Academy Awards. Is
the accused or this one?
the accused?
Sure.
Is that should she have won that Oscar? And I kind of think that she has to lead to a role like Clarice Starling.
Yeah. In the long run.
In the long run, yeah.
But was it merited? I saw The Accused. That shit stuck with me to this day.
Yeah,
I'm
she's
like,
great in
damn,
it. Mhm.
this
It was a
is
moment.
A lot. Yeah. But no, I think it's just it's she's the right person. She's the right person for the role. Cut to Michael Kors. It's the right girl.
The right girl.
in the right dress.
In the right dress.
with the right hair.
And you were also mentioning about the script is that what I think is really interesting about the story is that it's a very classic piece of literature. I mean, when it boils down to it,
Yeah.
it's the fable of a knight rescuing a princess.
Glass shattered.
But
in my
this
head right
time,
now.
the knight
my
is
my glass eye shattered.
The knight is Jodie Foster.
Yes.
Yes.
Work.
Yeah.
Period.
I mean, and it's also just kind of that classic hero narrative, too.
And Anthony Hopkins is the Stygian witches.
I mean, Anthony Hopkins is there to like help guide her on her
guides
way.
her,
He is
yeah.
the Obi-Wan Kenobi
He's
kind
of
of-
this hero's journey.
He is
Gandalf the
He
White.
is the wizard, yes, in a way. That's so interesting. I didn't even think about
Yeah.
Silence of the Lambs in terms of like the hero's journey narrative, but that is
Work.
so true.
Yeah. Love it. Okay. As a Star Wars fan, I like it even more.
Yeah, shit.
Was anyone else up for Dr. Lecter, or was it always going to be Anthony Hopkins after Hackman dropped out?
After Hackman dropped out,
Yeah, they didn't go back to Brian
I
Cox.
mean, I think that Jonathan Demme always knew that it probably had to be
Anthony.
Anthony Hopkins.
Anthony Hopkins. Sir
I always
Anthony.
think of that when Gwyneth Paltrow was presenting him on a Golden Globes. He's winning like the Cecil B. DeMille Award,
Yeah.
and she pronounces it Anthony.
Anthony.
And I want to say that he was interviewed later, and he's just like, it's just Anthony. But I think
Gwenny.
that Jonathan
Go,
Demme
Google.
cites the Elephant Man as convincing him that he could play a
yeah.
role like Hannibal Lecter, as this kind of shadowly figure that is in all of us.
Oh, totally.
You know, he has developed a full character because when if you watch this and you watch Dracula, his voice,
His voice is
the
different.
the pitch of his
Yeah.
voice is completely
Well,
different.
he's got an accent in Dracula.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's doing a completely different
His
thing.
voice is higher pitched as Hannibal
Yeah.
than it is as
Well, he's kind of
Van
got
Helsing.
like a sort of Maryland accent that he's
Yeah,
working
because he's
with.
from Baltimore. Sure. Yeah.
I mean, it's not full like hairspray.
Right.
but-
Yeah. It's not a full Baltimore.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Only in 16 minutes of the movie.
With
Get
his-
the fuck right
yeah,
out of town.
60
That
minutes.
always
60
blows my
minutes,
mind
yeah.
every time I hear that.
Yeah.
I knew that, but when you hear
But
it, you're just like,
I mean, his like premise,
His
like,
presence is
his
there.
presence is
Yeah.
so big that they just had to put him in lead.
Yeah. And there's the lore of like how his eyes are always open. He never closes his eyes within
Ah.
a scene.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
he's given some Haley Joel Osment School of Acting.
Yes.
Okay. He learned it from Haley Joel. Yeah, I feel like I would not argue his lead actor status.
Sure.
Yeah.
For that Academy Award. I wouldn't be like, no, fuck that. Give him supporting. No.
I
the
mean-
character is the lead actor.
You mentioned
in this
before, but
movie.
it got the Big Five.
Yeah.
It is the third film in the Academy's history to get the Big Five for producing, directing, acting, and screenwriting, and acting for both categories.
Okay, so we got
Director,
We got-
screenplay.
we got.
what's her name?
Oh.
Put her leg out.
It happened one night.
It happened one night. That's what I'm thinking.
All
What's
of
her
them
name?
won.
What's her name?
Claudette Colbert.
Claudette Colbert.
Yeah.
I'm doing this is my Claudette Colbert impression. I'm holding the
very
edge
good.
of my little shorts.
Listeners, he's doing a full Claudette
I'm
right
doing
now.
full Claudette. I've drawn in my eyebrows. and
So
everything.
it happened one night. Sound slams. And do you know what the third is?
yes, of course. Donovan?
Do you know?
Do I? Titanic?
Cuckoo's Nest.
Oh, sorry.
Ain't
so-
Leo didn't
that's
win
right. He
Best
didn't
Actor
get
for
anything.
Titanic.
No.
Yeah. Has anything ever won? No, we would know if it won everything and supporting. I don't think anything has. That would be like
Well,
the Earth would
not
explode
both
in
supporting,
space.
but I mean everything everywhere kind of
sure.
Got close.
Got close.
It didn't
yeah.
win lead,
but there
actor,
was
but
no-
it won supporting
there was
actor.
nothing
Sure.
to have in the
Yeah.
lead.
Yeah,
Yeah, it won Best Actor,
Yeah.
Actress, and Supporting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But yeah, that was a moment though. I
Also,
watched
I mean-
the Academy Awards with my mom as a kid all the time, as most
Yeah.
little gay boys do, and I remember
We
just
did.
being like, "Ooh!"
I mean, I think that it holds the record of the earliest release movie to win Best Picture
Yeah.
because Valentine's Day weekend,
oh, because
and
February.
it rode that buzz for an entire
All year.
over a year.
Yeah. Beat out Beauty and the Beast.
Oh yeah, and that was a big deal for an animated movie to be nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah.
But I don't.
Yeah.
I think it was pretty much called on that night that it was going to be. It was going to be Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild. So it hadn't happened since Cuckoo's Nest,
No.
and before that, it hadn't happened since it happened one night in like the fucking 30s or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. That's intense. Like,
crazy.
yeah, you would think that, like, I don't know, that the Motion Picture Academy would. It just shows that the rules are kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Like, there's hardly any real way to game that system. It's just kind of like. Those
I
rules are
think
cuckoo.
that. I think that voting now is so different that you just
Yeah.
see the wealth spread a little bit more with movies. Is that one movie they can kind of sweep an entire ceremony, but it doesn't happen all that much.
Right. Okay, so we should address. We are 35 minutes into this episode. We should address at this point that there are some themes in this movie that may
Yeah,
be a
thank
bit
you.
dated.
Yeah.
It has a history with the gay community,
It has-
even at
yeah.
the time.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And we're definitely talking about some transgender themes
Yeah.
that, I mean, vocabulary was different at the time, but it's not even down to vocabulary. It's down to portrayals of trans-identifying characters. And I know that that's a big thing in the script. You know, Dr. Lecter does not believe that Buffalo Bill is trans. He kind of thinks that Buffalo Bill thinks he's trans,
Thinks he is.
but it's really a manifestation of other issues in his life,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But that being said, also there's the issue of, you know, the main serial killer villain
Yes.
of this movie being a trans
Yeah.
character.
Does Silence of the Lambs demonize the trans
Right.
community? Which,
Right.
I mean, these are all personal opinions.
Yes.
Personally, I do not think it does intentionally.
Right.
But I do see the argument for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Also,
Absolutely.
kind of get representation with the gay community at the time in major Hollywood movies of that these type of characters you didn't really see in major movies, and when you did, it's Buffalo Bill.
It's always
like whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
That's your
Yeah.
That's
representation.
your representation right there.
So like the, you know, referring to, you know, transvestites and transsexuals and all that
Yeah.
is one issue. But again, separately, the issue of like kind of villainizing or demonizing kind of trans characters. Whether that was the intention or not, we fully, as you know, viewers and reviewing this episode, kind of understand that that's an issue that's out there,
Yeah.
and so we're not really.
Well, I also think that it probably got to Jonathan Demme as well, or I think kind of the gay community's response to it. I do think that it led to something like following this movie up with something like Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Oh, Jonathan Demme directing
Yeah.
Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Is his
Jonathan
next
Demme
movie?
directing something like Philadelphia.
Got it. Okay, all right. Which also is
Noble gay man.
Noble gay.
It's polarizing too,
Noble-
right? The
noble gay man who dies of AIDS.
Yes,
Yep.
yes, exactly. Yeah.
I hadn't seen Philadelphia until this past summer.
Really?
Yeah, I just never got around to it.
Well, I mean, honestly, I hate to say, but like, who like just sits around and is like,
Right, you know what I wanna watch.
Exactly. It just seemed like a downer even when I was a kid.
Let's put on Philadelphia. Why not?
Yeah,
I'm bored.
yeah. I mean, but that brings the whole conversation of, you know, in what, 1992, 93, when Philadelphia comes out?
94 or
94.
93.
94. Okay, well, whatever year it is. Tom Hanks playing a gay guy.
Again, yeah.
Great. he's
major movie star.
He's America's dad, right? He's a America's sweetheart.
Well, I guess that he was America's sweetheart at the time. Not,
he wasn't
not
dad
quite
yet.
America's
He wasn't
dad.
America's dad yet. Yeah,
Maybe the next decade.
Yeah. But we love him. He's not quite the pillar of masculinity. It's not like if we're getting Clint Eastwood or like Harrison Ford to play this character.
Very true.
But he is still kind of just an everyman, right? And so through that lens, it's like cool. But I do understand today the argument of, hey, maybe we can throw a bone to an actual gay homosexual, to understand this character, this role.
I think it's very much a product of the time because even in the book is very written from the perspective of a cis hetero white male,
and a lot of that comes from the material. Yeah.
So, the character of Buffalo Bill is a villain. Are they trans? And that's the thing. It's like if it brings up a lot of things. It's like, okay, maybe Dr. Lecter, his clinical opinion is he's not actually trans. But it's like, but does that matter if it's a person identifies as trans, but their psychiatrist says, hey, you're not really trans? Like, what's that?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if I went to a psychiatrist and they're like, no, it's just trauma. You're not really trans. It's just your trauma. Like, bitch, no. I know. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that kind of brings, and it's like, is how reliable is Hannibal when it comes to that kind of diagnosis or whatever. So it does bring up a lot of questions. It's a very sensitive issue, but the
psychology of Buffalo Bill is just kind of a mystery too.
Buffalo Bill just needed to get his ass to Palm Springs because couldn't you see him with all his rings and his kimonos?
But that's the thing. He just
the Palm Springs gay.
That not a bomber jacket, but it's almost like a Letterman jacket.
It's like that silk.
The silk arms, and then the back is like Japan.
It looks like the Ryan Gosling jacket from Drive.
Popular movie trailer Drive. And it seems when we do see his little wardrobe, they're drag costumes.
Yeah.
But they're not just drag as in dressed as girl. They're drag as in performance costumes.
Yeah. There's a latex look.
There's, what does Chanel say? There's feathers and peplums and asymmetrical collars. I'm a Las Vegas showgirl. It's not just like he wants to live as a woman. They're drag performance costumes.
Yeah.
And so is Colleen Atwood thinking about that when she's filling this room with these looks?
There's something performative about Buffalo Bill.
Because they're not just like, I'm going to the supermarket today.
It's not like Buffalo Bill's going for realness.
You know what I mean?
No. Yeah, it's all. Super performative.
Yeah.
He's taping himself dancing around.
I'm just saying that there's that line, and maybe they didn't understand it at the time in the 90s of what is the difference between a drag queen, a trans woman, a transvestite.
The language wouldn't have been as mainstream.
Right.
Yeah.
Because there is that whole thing of just sometimes there are straight guys that like putting on women's clothes and getting off, but they do not live their life as women, and people who do live their life, that's something else, and that maybe that is their way of being trans and exhibiting themselves, and drag is something else completely. It's an expression and it's an art form, and there is this weird kind of blurred line or juxtaposition when you see Buffalo Bill's wardrobe and how he does present with his kooky rings and very that Palm Springs kind of a little bit of that older guy who just has a lot of turquoise.
Well, the older guy who has a lot of turquoise and the obsession with the moths and
a niche hobby,
a very niche
hobby.
Yes.
yeah. I love it. All the bug stuff too, that's just become this.
Okay, how many alt girls do you know have a death's head moth tattoo?
The iconography of this movie, the poster, and that is it Dolly? Am I stupid? Am I just assuming? It's a famous painting of the nude women creating a skull.
Oh, yeah.
Did you not know that?
You show it to me,
Yeah.
and I'm sure I'll be like, oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But
it's a thing where it's a classic painting, and it's a skull, but when you look at it, it's nude women's bodies, and they're creating the skull face, and it's I think it's in the poster.
Did you get to that episode of Hannibal where they're in the silo? Or
is it in season 2?
That might be season 2.
Oh no, then I haven't finished.
Okay.
Then I haven't gotten there yet.
When you zoom in, zoom
where
into
did it go?
When you
Hold on,
zoom into
listeners.
that, you can see
it's all
their bodies.
Oh,
Yeah. On the poster for the movie,
you're
it's
literally blowing my
Yeah.
effing mind right now.
the moth and the death's head moth is a real. This is a real moth. It's a real
bug.
insect
Yep.
on Earth.
Yeah.
And it does have this face on its back that looks like a skull.
Yeah.
But there is a famous painting, and they put it into the poster of this movie, and it's actually women's bodies.
Oh my gosh!
Look at that.
Creating this
are-
skull face, yeah.
Wow.
And I want to say it's Dali.
Yeah.
It's not the whole moth. It's literally just the
skull.
women making the skull. And that. But you're right. It has become this visual kind of icon of this movie. And I think anytime you have something, going to Gus Van Sant's Psycho, where he added Vince Vaughn's little downstairs, his basement. Sure. He had birds down
Kind
there,
of
and
an
so
homage to.
Yeah, it was really kind of this homage to that. This is an extended scene that they added that wasn't in the original Psycho, but there's a, they're walking through
when Julianne
the fruit
Moore
cellar.
When Julianne Moore goes down to the fruit cellar to discover Mrs. Bates.
There's little birds flying around, and it's very evocative of these scenes of Clarice with the bugs and all that. The two bug experts in this movie.
They remind me a lot of the two guys from X-Files.
Yes, the guys that predicted 9/11.
Yeah,
never mind.
That's another episode.
That's another episode. Yeah, I forgot. Oh, they had a spin-off series.
Was it Millennium?
No, it's called. They had a name, Carter. They had a name for these characters on X-Files, and they had their own spin-off series. That's neither here nor there. But the two in this movie, they're super cute, both of them. Even with the cross eyes. Even with the cross eye. I'm here for him. But you know I'm really here for in this movie, and I never thought about it until I watched this time? Scott Glenn.
Scott Glenn.
His daddy.
Crawford.
Daddy.
I was like,
Yeah.
ooh.
Yeah, he's good. He is a good Jack Crawford. I think I might be more partial to Lawrence Fishburne as
that's the character? Okay, sure.
You know what's so funny is that I'm watching.
You never put two and two together?
Is that I'm watching Hannibal right now, and I'm not putting all of this together.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because I'm not really focusing on it. But yeah, that's the Lawrence Fishburne character from Hannibal. Okay. And do you know how long it took me last night to figure out the main character? What's his name from CSI or Peterman?
Something.
He's in Manhunter.
Yeah.
He's in Manhunter.
Will Graham in Manhunter.
Yeah.
That's Mr. Claire Danes.
Oh,
It's
the character from Manhunter
Yeah.
that's on CSI he's played by Hugh Dancy.
Hugh Dancy.
Hugh Dancy,
in
yes.
Hannibal the series.
Yeah, Hannibal the series,
Got it. It's the
yes.
same character. Got it.
Yeah,
I see
and
what
it
you're saying.
Edward Norton played him in Red Dragon.
It took me a while. It took me a while to figure that out.
Yeah.
Work. Oh, okay. It's all falling
He's
into place.
you just got to keep watching the show because my God, the sexual tension between Hannibal and Wolf.
So you got me to watch.
I love it.
Yeah.
See the first season of Hannibal, which I finished.
Yep.
I don't normally watch a lot of procedural crime television.
Yeah.
So it's not really something that I normally watch, but I'm keeping up with it though.
Mm-hmm. But I feel like it's a procedural, but it also
You have your overarching story
Yeah.
of what's going on.
but the kills are all interesting and artistic, and as you progress through season 2 and especially in season 3, it gets less of a procedural. I feel like because it really starts to follow.
That's good. Because I feel like I care for it less when it works as more of a murder of the week type of show, and we have to solve it.
Yeah.
I kind of thought that they would pay off Gillian Anderson's character a little more in season 1.
Just wait.
Okay. So she comes back then. Okay,
Oh
good.
yeah. She comes back. She's in season 2 and is a huge part of season 3.
All right.
Yeah. Please keep watching.
I'll keep watching.
Yeah.
Okay.
How do you feel about his performance as Hannibal?
Mads?
Yeah.
Mads Mikkelsen? I think he's good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Serviceable.
I mean, it's serviceable. I would go over to his house for dinner.
Hell yeah.
It looks like...
I even have there's a cookbook from the show.
Oh my god.
Of all of the recipes.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
So are we supposed to believe, is he feeding all of his dinner guest people?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that it hints that early on
Yeah.
of that this is Hannibal cooking, so you can probably put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah, he is feeding them all of his kills.
Work.
Work.
And this made it to primetime NBC.
NBC, baby. Brian Fuller made it happen. I don't know how, but
He went from pushing daisies
yeah.
to this.
But I'm very excited for the later seasons. You said season 3 when they start to get into all of the characters from Hannibal. And I know that they put in characters that they cut from the movie,
Yes.
too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They put in the sister.
Yes, Margot.
Yep.
Yeah.
Margot. Mm-hmm. And she's like a butch lesbian, right?
She's a butch lesbian in the book, but they make her more of a femme lesbian because she has... I mean, I don't want to spoil it for you, but
sure.
Yeah, they make her more of a femme. But what? Oh my God, what's the name of the actor who plays Mason Verger in Hannibal?
It's from the Dreamers and Hedwig. Michael Pitt.
Michael Pitt.
Yeah.
He is. I mean, Gary Oldman was fantastic in Hannibal, but I want to say that Michael Pitt did a very good job.
Hannibal Rising.
Gaspar.
Oh,
R.I.P.
Gaspar Ulliel. R.I.P.
God.
And I mean, CBS original Clarice, one season.
I never watched it.
Okay.
And I think that was really like CBS old person television.
Yeah. That lasted one season.
That's
right?
really like,
Sure did,
that's going to be on when I'm at the bar at like 10 o'clock and they just have
the
basic
TV's
cable
just
on
playing for the baseball game.
and it's mute.
Yeah. That only lasted one season.
Yeah.
I never watched it. It like piqued my interest when it first came out, but then it never...
13 episodes for a network show. That's not
Yeah.
Who is the
very
Clarice?
full season. We don't even know who she is.
Someone.
Yeah, her name is
And I don't even think they had Hannibal in that show.
Rebecca Breeds.
Well, I mean, maybe that's where they're going to go with it.
But you know, it's a direct sequel to the movie. I feel like.
So the timeline is supposed to be like after Silence of the Lambs, before anything happens in Hannibal. It's like her dealing with the PTSD of Buffalo Bill.
So we're getting like Senator Martin, Catherine Martin.
Yeah.
You know, we're getting like a lot of Clarice's family in flashbacks.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the IMDb right now.
Catherine Martin's back. You wanted to
Catherine
talk
Martin's
about
in
her.
it. Yeah, we love Catherine Martin.
Yeah, you love her.
We love Catherine Martin. What is Brooke
Smith?
Brooke Smith.
I love Brooke Smith.
Yes.
See Brooke Smith come up a lot in movies and TV.
So
I love this actress.
Famously, Catherine Martin's abduction is kind of taken from like Ted Bundy's
of how we would lure men.
Or women. Ted Bundy
women.
Ted Bundy was women.
I'm thinking of Dahmer.
Yeah. That was so they kind of went all over for putting together this character, right, of like a serial killer and his tactics or whatever. But the feigning, you know, broken arm or whatever, and asking for help. That's something that Ted Bundy supposedly is or is.
Did you
set to
watch
have
the
done.
Zac Efron Bundy?
We did.
What'd you think?
I thought it was a mess.
Yeah.
It's kind of a mess.
Yeah, I thought it was a mess. I remember we watched the Netflix documentary like right before, and
Bundy
Bundy tapes. Yeah.
Maybe it was kind of a mistake to watch them so close back to back. I think that Netflix thought that they had something
sure did.
when they knew that they had this documentary in the can, and they bought the Zacky Poo movie from Sundance, but I really didn't like it.
I mean, is it the last like feature with Zach's old face? Maybe.
With his old face. Now he looks like handsome Squidward.
He does.
Yeah.
He does.
Hey, I'm looking forward to that new movie that he just did.
Yeah.
It's coming out this fall. I can't remember the name of it.
Whether it was he broke his jaw, like, I don't know, I forgot what he said, allegedly, if that's the real truth or not, or if it's all just, injectables
Yeah.
and who knows what. But R.I.P. Zach's
That
original
new movie
face.
is called The Iron Claw, and it has
So the Inspector Gadget
Jeremy
live-action
Allen
movie?
White from The Bear and
Okay.
Harris Dickerson from that Rich People Yacht movie.
The Rich People Yacht movie. Yes.
Sour Sadness.
Triangle of Sadness.
Triangle Sadness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Rich
I have
People,
not seen that.
Does he play the male model?
Yeah.
So it's a bunch of handsome guys just
Yeah.
like talking to each other?
Okay, so you watched the Bundy movie. We talked about this earlier, but you have not seen Dahmer yet.
No.
No.
The Ryan Murphy Dahmer.
The Ryan Murphy.
No,
yeah.
yeah. I've seen the Jeremy Renner Dahmer movie.
Oh, I have not seen that.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
old.
sometimes serial killer fascination is a little lost on me. I can sometimes get into it when it's something like Silence of the Lambs, when I think that there's a little more to offer, like
Sure.
a character like Clarice Starling.
Someone to root
but
for.
I don't
Yeah.
quite have the fascination of like the true crime podcast listener.
Okay. Gotcha.
That's
When it-
usually not my
when it gets
like
when
cue.
it gets to the
Yeah.
point that like junior high school kids are dressing as Jeffrey Dahmer for Halloween, it's like, all right, girl,
Bad taste.
slow your roll.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like of the whole Ryan Murphy universe,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I can get behind. Well, I can get in front of Evan Peters.
Behind, in front of, on top of.
Yeah, either.
Well, anyway,
you
can
name
get
it. I feel like Evan Peters is somebody that kind of is coming out smelling like a rose. You know, when you've got like Emma Roberts,
Emma Roberts beating him up. Yeah.
Kim K. Like, there's a lot of weird shit going on with the cast of
Ryan
like
Murphy.
of
Yeah.
Ryan Murphy productions. You know,
Yeah.
I feel like you give me, you know, Evan Peters, give me Billy Lord, you know, give me Jessica Lange,
Yeah.
and I'll watch something that they're involved in.
Yeah.
Niecy Nash,
Yeah.
Love
you know,
Niecy Nash.
yeah,
Niecy Nash, she
Yeah.
does a great job in
lesbian
Dahmer, and
icon.
I know
she
Dahmer-
deserves everything that she got for it. Like,
it's one of those
awards-wise.
things where it's like, yeah, do you really want to spend your whole weekend watching
Right.
this like
Right.
very serious?
Yeah.
And then I
series,
read like
but-
the interviews with like the family members, and I just kind of think like, oh, that has to fucking suck.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
having to relive all of that.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's that actual footage of someone kind of like going after, not going after, but kind of yelling at Jeffrey Dahmer like in court.
Yeah.
That's Niecy Nash's character or her sister. Or
That's
something?
the character.
That's the character,
Yeah,
right?
because
That she kind of
plays-
like yells at him. And,
She
yeah.
plays the neighbor in the show.
Sure.
Yeah.
That she may or may not have had a sandwich that was a person.
Yep.
Got it.
Yep.
Yeah. Got it. We'll watch it. I like I said, I kind of stand behind Evan Peters. I think he's a great actor.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's nice to look at. And Jeffrey Dahmer's story is fascinating.
It is fascinating.
You know?
Yeah, there's so many layers to it.
Yeah, the crazy shit with like the kid, the underage like Laotian kid or whatever that the cops were just
my
like,
God.
go
Whatever.
back home with him.
Yeah, it's fine.
What?
Yeah,
What?
the systemic racism,
Yes.
the systemic homophobia,
Yeah.
the way he got away with things for so long because they just didn't want to deal with
Yeah.
those people.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I'd like to give it a chance, but when we get to it, we'll get to it.
Sure.
Going back to
sure.
Brooke Smith. Of that,
Actually, going back to what we're talking,
we're talking
kind
about,
of
yeah.
going back to the
Silence of the
movie,
Lambs.
not the Ryan Murphy hour. What I really like about this performance is that she's the damsel, like we mentioned before. She's
Right.
the princess,
Princess in the
but she's also
tower.
like yelling at Buffalo Bill. She has a little princess.
Oh,
she thinks
when
she thinks Princess broke.
not princess,
Precious.
Yeah. Precious, yeah.
When she
dog, mister.
figures that shit out, thanks for the scraps, motherfucker. I got a better idea.
This performance, it's harrowing.
Don't make me hurt your dog.
Don't make me hurt. Yeah, no, he's like, don't make me hurt you. Don't make me hurt your dog.
And I kind of like that she's in this pit being like, fuck you.
Yeah.
And I also love
hurt
that
my
she's
dog.
saying
Don't make
fuck
me
you to
hurt your
Starling.
Yeah, she's
when
like,
she
"Come
finds
back,
her.
you crazy
you
bitch."
fucking bitch.
You fucking bitch, get me out of this pit.
Get me out of here.
You want to rescue me? Get
I
me
don't
out
know
of this
why
fucking
she's sounding
pit.
like Cher right
She
now.
turns
but-
into, she very much
Yeah.
turns into Cher. You crazy bitch. Get me out of here.
But I mean, name a more
Get my husband,
iconic
Greg Allman.
duo than
Go to Malibu, turn left.
Turn left.
Name a more iconic duo
Like
than
Clarice and Brooke.
Clarice and Brooke,
Claire,
but also like Precious too.
Oh, yeah, we gotta
It's
talk
like a
about her.
whole. It's like a whole like.
Catherine and when they are walking Catherine out in her like "you're safe now" gray blanket,
She's got her little safety blanket on.
and she's holding Precious, and they go to take Precious away, and she's like, "Nope, she's mine now.
She can't let him.
She's mine
Can't
now."
let Precious go. I mean, that's kind of the follow up story that I want to see. Is I want to know what happens.
Watch Clarice on CBS.
I want to know what happens to
find
Catherine
out.
Martin.
Streaming now on Paramount Plus.
Does she end up doing this like media tour
Yes, absolutely.
with Precious
Yeah.
in tow?
She's on Sally Jesse with Precious.
Is she going to be going on like Good Morning America with Precious?
Yeah.
And does Starling have to like go with her?
Oh God, I hope not.
Are they going to have to do this whole media tour?
No, not Lance Henriksen. The other one. Lawrence Fishburne goes with her.
Oh, yeah.
He's taking all the glory because
Precious is definitely going to get on the People magazine cover though.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, but the People, yeah. Precious is getting on People, yeah. Catherine's getting on, USA Today. But yeah, that's she's an interesting character because I love her intro. She's singing, she's singing American Girl, like she's just singing along. She's just like this badass.
I always
chick.
think of I love Tom Petty and I always think of this movie whenever
that song comes on.
whenever I listen to American
because
Girl.
Iconic now.
so what we get from Buffalo Bill when we see his earlier victims, they're all really young. They're all like teenagers, right?
Yeah,
Most
they're
of
all
them,
like in their late teens, early 20s.
early 20s, and
because they got that good skin.
yes, well, yeah. And Brooke, at least to me, maybe she is supposed to be 19. If you told me Catherine Martin is 19, 18, I believe it. But she seems like she's a little bit more worldly, right?
Yeah.
And you see it in her face when he's like, "Oh, like yeah, get up into the van." She's like,
What?
yeah. But at that point, she's a goner. But yeah, like the kind of the agency she has, and when she's down there and she's just like, "Fuck,"
Yeah, she's
like
like yelling.
Mister, and she's screaming at him, and
Like
"Fuck
she's
you."
not like, "Oh, help me!" Like,
But when the classic puts the lotion in the basket, and and she finally is like, okay, like I'll put the lotion on. And then she puts the lotion in the basket, and he pulls the basket, and there's a flashlight in there, and she sees the nails in the thing, and she's just like, oh fuck me, dude.
Yeah.
Because at that point she thinks I'm the senator's daughter.
Yeah.
He wants ransom.
yeah,
But then when she sees like, oh no, I'm not.
Yeah.
This isn't about me.
I'm probably not going to make it out of this basement alive.
Yeah. That's when you're like, oh,
Yeah.
God damn it. And you just see the way that they put this well, the way that it looks, it just looks, that shit looks like it could be in somebody. It doesn't look like a movie set. It looks like this is somebody's
the geography of that
disgusting
basement is
basement.
so
Yeah.
interesting.
the maze that's down there, this
yeah.
like Minotaur maze that
Yeah.
I mean, hey, hero's journey. She goes
Sure.
into, she goes into the maze
Yeah.
to fight the beast. Like
I mean, yeah, you're probably onto something. They probably had that in mind
Yeah.
when filming the scene. I
cuz
mean,
okay, so California West Coast boy.
Yeah.
I've been in one basement my
We don't
entire
have- we
life.
don't have basements
and
here.
it was literally a washing machine, a dryer, and a sink.
Yeah.
And it was 4 steps to get down to
Yeah.
it. Right.
Yeah. We don't do that.
So
here.
when I go to Montana,
I grew up
to
in
go
basements.
visit Scott, and there's
Yeah.
basements,
spooky.
and like if they don't, there's
my grandma's basement.
sure.
Yep.
Now, by law,
Scary.
there needs to be a window, and I forget what it's called, but it's called something,
Sure.
and it's basically an escape hatch.
Yeah.
Right. If you're down there, but if you're away from that window, and the lights are off, it is pitch fucking black because you're underground.
Yeah.
So when me and my cousins and my sister were kids, we used to play a game in my grandparents' basement. We called it the bear game, and we would turn off all of the lights.
And somebody would be the bear.
Silence of the Lamb style, and someone would be the bear, and you had to find the person. And we're talking pitch black,
You
like
didn't have
a
your,
room
your
with
officially licensed Jurassic Park
a room,
like night vision goggles.
a room with no windows.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or one, like the one
That is
escape.
terrifying.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh my god!
And you see a furnished basement like the grandparents' basement, and it's cute. Like there's a laundry room over here. And
I don't know.
Room.
My grandparents' basement isn't really furnished.
It's a bit of a maze,
Yep.
I mean, yeah, but it's a livable space. It's not like I'm talking about there's the Young Bowers and the Beaudries too. So the Young Bowers is a little bit more like that 70s show, like
there's like a rec room. There's like a little bar area,
right?
Sure. Yeah,
but you can see an older house that somebody didn't give a shit about, that didn't finish their basement.
Yeah,
could just be cinder blocks.
A lot
of
homes do have wells too. That's kind of an old house thing.
Yeah, to get
like to get running water.
Yeah, so
there's
that's
also
probably what it's from.
That old lady literally cooking in a bathtub.
What was that?
Yeah.
Is that the woman whose house it was?
Yes.
Oh my god.
Okay, so explain to me the connection of Scott Glenn says that we think that we have his house, but you need to go talk to the friend.
Well, they just were pulling
Well,
fingerprints and shit. And
they were looking.
just
They were looking at the
stuff.
people that were denied surgery.
So they were
and that's where they got the name.
Yeah. So that was just a bad lead.
And Clarice is going to go talk to a friend.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Her lead was the woman who they did like seamstress jobs for.
Yes.
She's the girl in the picture, I think.
Yeah, Frederica.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of that.
But Frederica and the girl who worked at the bank, girl who worked at the bank was like, "Oh yeah, we worked for like Mrs.
Lippman."
Mrs. Lippman.
So what
who's
is-
Mrs. Lippman?
Is Mrs. Lippman in the basement?
Yes.
She's the
Okay.
one in the bathtub.
She's the one in the bathtub.
And how
What
did
is-
he get the
What
house?
is the connection between Buffalo Bill and Mrs. Lippman then?
So
Is he her son?
no, from what I remember in the book, he would work for her and do
Sure.
like handy jobs
Sure.
and kind of be like a handyman around the house.
And just killed her and took the
And
house.
he noticed that she had this awesome, creepy basement.
Exactly.
this Minotaur maze. of
And
a
that
basement.
she just had this open well in the middle of her house.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
But I mean, some of the best movie editing in history is just how that scene, it's how that climax is cut together. It's just like, that shit is genius. And it's pure, like, filmmaking. It's editing. It's like, it's movie editing.
Yeah.
If we're talking about the movie making, I think also we need to do a shout out to the score for this.
Sure.
film.
Yes.
Howard Shore.
Iconic. That do 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 do.
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that kind of film editing of we're on a phone call and I'm saying, we're just about there and we're going to break in and here are the cops
And you expect that you're going to see that person when they open up the door.
The Flowers by Irene van comes and parks there, and he's got his like Terminator 2, like Rose's delivery, knocking on the door, and then we've got like James Gunn, like, oh, the doorbell's ringing.
Yep.
That fucking shriek of a doorbell that he has
The
hooked
doorbell
up.
is insane.
It's like an elementary school bell that he has like hooked up. But they do this thing where it's like this weird sound Foley thing that they make it seem like he has this jerry-rigged situation. When the doorbell rings, I hooked it up so that when I'm downstairs, I stole this school bell and it's hooked because there's a weird static or like electrical static noise going on underneath it to kind of illustrate that he rigged it. And it's like, ugh, it's awful. But that kind of editing can't be done in a book when you're reading it. Do you know what I mean? It's visual.
Yeah, you need to read this. You need to read this script and know how to film a scene like that.
There's you can only do that fake out in a film. You can't do a fake out like that in a book because you can't.
And it's
cross
something
POV.
And it's something
in the same chapter.
And it's something that the director, the cinematographer, and the editor all have to be on the same page for.
Yeah.
Too. This movie is shot by Tak Fukimoto, and I think that he would exclusively shoot movies with Jonathan Demme.
Okay.
Like I was getting the end song from Switchblade Sisters, and he came up in the credits as an assistant camera guy because Switchblade Sisters. We were talking about B movies,
American International,
and who's the big who's
Corman?
the big Roger Corman.
Sure.
And Jonathan Demme came up in that school.
Oh, get
of
out of
filmmaking.
here! Oh,
yeah.
word.
Jonathan Demme
cameo in this.
started out in like a
What?
women's
Yeah.
Who?
Roger Corman.
Who is he in this? He's somewhere in
he's
there.
probably one of the police guys. Yeah,
wow.
but he's listed in the credits in the beginning of the movie.
That's funny. Oh my god, I love that.
So Jonathan Demme was in the Roger Corman school, like with James Cameron.
Yeah,
sure, yeah. That's so cool.
That's great. I
mean, Jonathan Demme like started out making like women's prison movies, Caged Heat.
So that's how he knows tech. Yeah,
Yep.
because of that. Oh my god, I love it. I never knew that.
And I love shit like that of just these guys that had been working in B movies since the 70s.
Yeah.
That just kind of, they learned all of these tricks by making all of these schlocky movies.
And became prestige directors.
Yeah.
Because I feel like as a kid, I always kind of thought, I heard the name Jonathan Demme and I was like, oh, those are like real movies.
Those are
Those are grown-up movies.
So I've been going on a big Jonathan Demme like journey this year because when you look through his filmography, primarily his stuff from the 80s, like it's wild. Of that he can do
varied it is.
Like just kind of how varied it is. I mean, Something Wild we just watched for the first time this year with Melanie Griffith and Jess Daniels, and that's such a fun, kooky movie. Married to the Mob is like great. It's so fucking hilarious, and Michelle is so good in it. Mercedes Ruehl, like Queen, and then he can do something like Silence of the Lambs. Like just kind of this really versatile director that can kind of do anything.
Absolutely, yeah. It would have been really cool to see what his vision would have been had they decided to do Hannibal, but
I don't think I could see him like saying no on the
oh yeah, he read the
saying
script
no
and
on the
was
phone
like,
call.
Nah.
Probably.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit about Goodbye Horses before.
Yeah.
And Scott, you know, it is a good bar jukebox song to put on. But it's that thing where I feel like a lot of people kind of have that moment of like, wait a minute, what is this song?
I hesitate to put it on during
What is the
party
song
settings.
from?
This is the Silence of the Lambs song.
Yeah. But it's that thing that it's like, when you listen to it, it really is a good song.
It's a fucking banger, yeah.
And I believe Q Lazarus has passed away.
Yeah, she just passed away in the past year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those things where it's like, people are like, is this a guy singing? Is it a girl? Is it a woman
Very
singing?
androgynous.
I can't
It's very
tell.
androgynous,
You know?
which is also like totally fits into the whole theme of that scene.
Yeah.
Of him becoming a woman.
And I love the fact too that they had to have been playing it on set because he's singing along to it.
He's singing along to
you
it,
know?
yeah.
And a lot of times in movies they're like, oh, we don't know what song it is. They'll
Yeah.
play a temp song. Or
It was on
maybe just a beat.
It
you
was
know?
in Jonathan Demme's rotation. He was listening to the song a lot. It's in Married to the Mob.
Yeah, so
And, I mean,
like you
all
said,
of the music of Jonathan Demme movies are usually pretty, like, meticulously put in there.
Put together.
Yeah.
Like, they're in there for a reason.
Yeah.
But I definitely remember in my like going out days of just kind of like,
I remember when you first put this on for me, when I first started going out with you, and you put this on in your old truck, in your old
In my
Toyota.
Tacoma,
I'm just like, Goodbye Horses, huh?
Yeah, I did that
Work.
with Brian too. Yeah, I put that on in the car and I kind of like gave him the side
It's
eye.
a little
like,
test, yeah.
Can you hang?
it's
Yeah.
a little test.
But I remember like listening. I remember listening to that movie or listening to that song as we were driving down.
where were we going?
We were
Yeah, what
driving
were
down.
doing?
We were probably coming from the Roost.
Shove,
I just
probably.
remember driving down the freeway with you, and the windows were down.
It's probably why I put
Of
it
the
on
truck.
because we're
Yep.
going to leaving the
Vibes.
Roost. Yeah, vibes, man.
Yeah.
So we're like heading down the 5, going towards like downtown LA.
Q Lazarus, you'll be missed. Icon.
I mean, yeah, and
It's such a great song.
that's the thing. My friends and I like. I remember when Damien kind of so this. Think back. This is early, like pre-iPhone days of going out. Like we're going to the bar, going to the club. The iPhone is a distant
Teach me, Pete.
vision in our future. We have Bluetooth. And we can send a song to each other, but it's a song that we ripped off of LimeWire. You know,
You had
It's
your
a fake
Discman
song.
that had the little tape connector.
Yeah.
that you
I
would
put
in your
I put a
truck.
tape into
Yep.
my tape deck with
my
a cable
gosh.
sticking out of it.
Yep.
That went into my iPod.
Yep.
You know. And so we're ripping music. We don't have Spotify. It's still the days of like you got to find music and make playlists. But iPods changed the game, right? So we did have music at our fingertips. It was just we had to find it and harness it, and then it was our personal shit. And when Damien put Q Lazarus on a playlist, we were like, work, this song is good.
Yeah.
And it would like pump us up to like go to the bar. But it was also a weird like early Kanye kind of like, you know, what is the like harder, faster, like, I don't know.
Like the Daft Punk song?
Yeah, that kind of shit, you know, but like, yeah, Gold Digger and like weird,
nice.
like,
nice.
Yeah, getting into, I don't know, but it just, we just thought we were like, you know what you feel like when you're in your 20s and you're like going to the club and
you feel invincible.
We were it, man. We were it. And when we would go places and we would be able to put the song on, we'd be like, and look around and see people being like, we're like, yeah.
You know,
dummy.
Pete, I remember us being at a bar. I remember we were at the Snug with Ashley Cassidy from Keep It Weird, and she just put on the jukebox.
I remember that night. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
I remember it played off of the Clerks 2 soundtrack.
That's right.
Oh,
it's on
no.
Clerks 2 too. Yeah. Yeah, and they do like a Silence of the Lambs kind of spoof, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't remember Clerks 2. I remember seeing it, but I don't actually remember like a lot from it. But that leads me to, okay, so we were like, yeah, bitch, we're like the cool kids. We know what's going on. Q Lazarus is where it's at. But then we were like, okay, this song is a little like not played out, but we were like,
what else is there?
it's
What
a
else
little
is there?
expected.
Sure.
What
Yeah,
else is
yeah,
there?
yeah.
So yeah, there was another song that we found that was a little bit more of a deep cut. And I don't know what the deal is.
How did you find this song?
Damien?
It was just on one of his. It was just on one of his playlists.
Damien just found this song, and it's about Silence of the Lambs. It's literally just
It's about Buffalo Bill.
It's about Buffalo Bill, but it's like it's spooky, it's kooky, it's ooky, and like. And we were just like, "Oh, this is the one. This is the like the real shit." And we just became obsessed. It was this thing that was just like just our stupid idiot group of dumb friends who were like obsessed with this song, and we're like, get ready at home, just like
and put your lotion on his skin.
I'm looking so cute, putting all this lotion on my skin.
Yes, hydrated.
You're fully hydrated, unbothered.
He is not
and,
ashy.
No, and
so I didn't know about the song until Jackass Forever.
Yeah.
Oh, but we were sitting in the theater,
I had completely forgotten
and in Jackass Forever, they do a Silence of the Lambs bit where they turn off all the lights and they fuck with them. I think that they think that they're going to be dealing with like snakes,
but
like
it
rattlesnakes,
ends up being cattle prods,
and then it ends up being all of the lights shut off, and they're getting zapped with cattle prods, and they're getting led into rooms with like mouse traps,
and cast iron.
And Chris Pontius is in the corner dancing, tucked like
So
Buffalo
there's
Bill.
a lot of homages to Silence of the Lambs and spoofs. You mentioned the American Dad one. Would you say that's your favorite?
I like that one. It's pretty funny.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite?
Oh gosh.
I mean, The Simpsons had the famous Mr. Burns in the Mask.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Being let in.
Well, there is a really very timely Roseanne Halloween episode where DJ gets wheeled out, and he's on a dolly.
Oh, nice!
Strapped to the dolly.
I remember kids in grade school going as Hannibal Lecter.
Wild.
Isn't that nice?
Wild.
Yeah. Wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did Hannibal a few times for a Halloween costume. I told you guys earlier, I'm a South Park kid.
Yeah.
So they did like 2 spoofs. One of them was with Officer Barbrady, and he was like the Clarice Starling character trying to solve a mystery of who's TPing houses. And then the other one is Cartman, and Cartman's playing lambs downstairs. And
With Bebe?
With Bebe,
yeah. We watched that one.
Yeah,
that's
so
a good.
good.
One. Yeah. He's got the little doll down there.
He's just playing lambs. Put the fucking lotion in the basket.
That's when Bebe gets boobs.
Yes.
Oh my god, too much.
Yeah.
Sometimes South Park, I'm like, what the fuck, man?
I didn't grow up on a lot of South Park, but it's kind of fun to watch.
It is fun. It's a good time. Yeah. Yeah. I was just looking up also Thomas Harris, the author of the Hannibal books. I don't know if we're going to get another one because this dude was born in 1940.
Oh.
Thomas Harris strikes me as somebody, if I read a little too much into Thomas Harris's political beliefs, that it would be a huge turnoff.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. Like,
For sure.
maybe it's for the best that I don't know a lot about Thomas Harris.
He did have a book come out in 2019 that was not related to the Hannibal universe, but I am just curious
Well,
if
I
we
don't
are
wanna
going to
read
get
that.
one more. Yeah, no, who the fuck cares about that? Yeah.
We have to give a shout out to Precious. I mean, we've definitely mentioned before, but I mean,
Darla.
Precious, what a
Darla,
career! And
not Darla.
This is not a poodle. This
No,
is
she's not a poodle. She's a Bison Frichet. Yeah.
That's Millie. That's Millie DeCherico's dog.
Yeah, our friend Millie. Has
I mean, what a career! Pee-wee's Big Adventure, The Burbs as Queenie. Pete, you love The Burbs.
I love
Queenie's
The
so
Burbs.
great in The Burbs.
This is Walter. Yeah. Oh shit. Batman Returns. Her final role.
What a career!
Final role in Batman Returns. She was the in the little Penguins gang, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The Penguins.
She's with the poodle lady.
The red, the
Poodle
red circle or the red triangle gang had
Yeah.
a poodle lady, and
Yes.
she carried around little Queenie, who, like we said, is not a poodle. Yeah, a Bichon Frise. Her IMDb says she was born in 1975.
The dog?
Yes, she was 17 when she passed
my
away
gosh.
in 1992.
Oh.
That's wild. So she did not get her big break in the film industry until she was,
Oh, I'd love that.
a
Dreams can
teenager.
happen.
Yeah, so stick with it, you
Stick
guys.
with it, kids. Dreams come true.
I mean, Queenie's age, she was like in her 60s when she when she finally made it happen.
Scott, both of us have the criterion of The Silence of the Lambs. Is there anything in particular you love about this edition?
I mean, it's a lot of I hate to be shady, but it's a lot of recycled stuff of that TV specials that aired on A&E probably in 2001 when it had its 10-year anniversary. I don't think that they really do anything exclusive with Jodie Foster or Anthony Hopkins,
No, I noticed
sadly.
that too. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's fine.
Yeah, it is what it is.
I like the nice transfer of it.
Yeah, it's a good transfer. I like the cover art. I like the booklet.
Silence of the Lambs was an early Criterion. I think it was one of the early DVD releases, too.
Yeah.
Know that it was hard to find for a while.
So this was a re-release then.
In the 2021 sequel television series Clarice, the role of Precious was taken up by a Bichon Frise named Kendall.
They even have the dog in the show. Is it on Paramount Plus? I gotta
It is
watch
on Paramount
this.
Plus
Okay.
now. Yeah.
We gotta watch this and see what it's about.
And in Batman Returns, her fur was purposely matted for the part, so she's barely recognizable.
I was
So
gonna
you
say,
may not
I
even think that it was.
she looks
Queenie,
pretty different.
but it is her. Yeah.
She bites the little
She grabs the batarang.
She grabs the little batarang.
Yeah.
Yep.
She grabs it right out of the air. Oh man, yeah, Clarice. I think Clarice is on Paramount Plus. Yes,
I'm looking at some more trivia about Silence of the Lambs, and after Pfeiffer turned it down, he approached Meg Ryan. Also, could you imagine a world where Laura Dern was Clarice Starling?
I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
God, she would have been really young.
I mean,
Yeah.
she's probably Jodie's age.
Jurassic
but,
Park
yeah.
is
was 93.
Yeah.
93. I mean, she had that Oscar nomination for Rambling Rose. I think that her Oscar for Rambling Rose is 91. I think that she's in the
okay.
category.
Okay.
Because the Best Actress category in 91, it was Jodie Foster, Susan and Gina from Thelma and Louise, Laura Dern,
jeez,
and
What a year.
Bette Midler
for
the boys.
the boys.
For the boys.
My least favorite.
I don't think that any of them really stood a chance for.
No.
No. Well, that's the thing.
Sounds of
This
the Lambs,
movie
yeah.
was so like zeitgeisty, so
Sure.
like buzzy
Yeah.
that you couldn't.
And I know you mentioned maybe possibly doing a Hannibal specific episode, but Jodie versus Julianne. Or do we even...
Okay, we can have that conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that there's a universe where Jodie Foster can do this movie. Of that, I mean, I don't think that she can. Of
Wait, do what
especially
movie?
Hannibal.
Oh, got it.
Yeah. Of just, I think especially of that's so much a part of your career, like, why even bother?
Yeah.
And I think that it's just a very different...
It's a different movie. It's a different vibe.
I think it's also a very different Starling. It's a Starling that's been working in the FBI for 10 years. It's a very different character.
Yeah.
That I think that Julianne Moore is pretty good in it.
I think so, too. I think it's one of her better roles.
I don't know about that.
Do you think that she's really kind of taking and running with Jodie's...
She is with The Voice.
She's doing the voice.
She's doing the voice.
She's doing the accent.
Yeah. She's doing the accent, which, I mean, it's... Yes, Jodie Foster laid the foundation, but it is canon in the book that she comes from West Virginia and therefore has that sort of twang. to her.
Ozarky kind of, yeah. Okay. All I get is Holly Hunter, but you know.
Sure. I mean, I feel like whenever we try to do a Jodie Foster or Clarice Starling, it just turns into Holly Hunter. I could see Holly Hunter doing a really good job in this movie. I'd be curious to see if it kind of...
She would have killed either movie.
I think that... I kind of wonder if this role would have been... She would have read the script or been offered to... I mean, probably not offered to her, but she may have gotten her hands on a script and wanted to do it.
Yeah. That's very true.
In 91, kind of where was she in her career? Which she maybe not have been in the same kind of ballpark of who we could offer this to. I mean, if you're looking at Michelle Pfeiffer and Meg Ryan. Maybe Holly Hunter wasn't in that.
Definitely.
That kind of...
I mean, Holly Hunter had the Oscar nomination for Broadcast News. Yeah, so, I mean, that's kind of the movie
maybe
that broke
5 years
her
earlier.
Along with Raising Arizona.
Yeah,
so, maybe.
Yeah. Interesting. I mean, Jodie could have been inspired by... Because Holly Hunter's voice is very distinctive.
Yeah.
And I think I hear a lot of it.
You hear a lot of it, yeah.
So, I don't know. Maybe they're just hanging out. She's like, I got the voice.
I feel like we don't really talk about Jodie Foster all that much on her show. I mean, we talked a little bit about her on Freaky Friday just because we double featured both of those movies. And I mean, just even when she's a kid, like, iconic lesbian. It's like, get out of here.
Big lesbian energy.
Yeah.
It's like, I love it.
Yeah.
Just that representation of just a tomboy in a movie.
Yes.
Well, she's kind of going to go back to her procedural Clarice Starling roots with this new True Detective season.
Oh, she's going to be on the next True Detective.
She's going to be in this new season of True Detective. Yeah. She is going to be starring with Annette Bening in this Swimmers movie about the woman that swum the English Channel. Naid, I think. I think that's what it's called. But so we're going to get a little Jodie this year.
Yeah.
She could get an Oscar nomination for that Swimmer movie.
What did she do when she gave us that weird, like, was it a pandemic win?
She won.
Was she won in her pajamas?
She won for she won the Globe for the Manchurian, and it was her and her wife or girlfriend. I'm not sure if they're married.
In pajamas,
but they're in pajamas.
And we're like, girl, what are you talking about?
They're in pajamas with their dogs, accepting the Globe, and I kind of love it. It was very sweet. I loved it.
Peak lesbian energy.
But it was. I mean, it was just very. And that Swimmer movie is called Nyad, Nyad. Nyad.
I have heard.
Is it Irish or is it gay, or is it Welsh?
I think it's about the swimmer.
It's either Irish or Welsh. We can't pronounce it.
Diana Nyad, who at the age of 60, with the help of her friend and coach, commits to her lifelong dream of the 110 open swim from Cuba to Florida. It is not the English Channel.
Okay.
I'm glad that I fact-checked that in the moment.
Jodie Foster is 60?
That's crazy.
Playing a 60-year-old? I don't want to hear that. No, she's in her 50s.
That is.
That's the Annette Bening character.
Annette Bening.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I love that moment at the Globes where she accepts the Globe on her couch with her partner. It's like, I think it's so beautiful, and it's really that. I mean, this is during the pandemic. These
Well,
are like
what was the speech that she gave where she kind of sort of
she
came
won
out, but she
the.
didn't?
She was honored with the Cecil B. DeMille Award at the
Got
Globes,
it.
and she
Yeah.
kind of gave her sort of coming out speech,
Yeah,
but not
yeah,
really
but not
though.
really.
I also love
it was
that,
good
too.
enough. It was good
It was
enough.
good
It
enough.
was all it needed to be. She doesn't owe shit to anybody.
that's true.
She does not owe
Yeah.
shit to anyone.
And I kind of
So
like that
if-
she feels like she doesn't need
Yeah.
a People magazine cover
Yeah.
because she's
Yeah.
Jodie
No.
fucking Foster.
No. And if I'm going to stand here and say, like, yeah, this bitch that I'm sitting in my PJs in, eating cereal, winning Golden Globes with,
What of
you
it?
don't know.
Yeah.
And you don't need to know. How she is 60. She's exactly 60. She was born in 62, but in November. Like me. So she's not quite 63 yet. Yeah, I mean, like I said, she does clearly clearly Jodie. But I mean, yeah, whatever she wants to say, however she wants to say it, fine, cool, I'm here for it. and that weird speech, we were kind of like, girl, what'd you just say? But at the end of it, I'm just like, whatever, dude.
Love it.
Yeah,
Live your life, live your truth.
yeah.
Yeah.
You can. Yeah, it can be. Tell us whatever you want to tell us. I'm here for it. She's Jodie Foster. Fuck you. She got 2 Academy Awards. How many do you have?
2 Academy Awards in lead.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Who has that? Tom.
Catherine
Hepburn.
Hepburn.
Kate.
Meryl.
Meryl.
Hillary Swank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hillary Swank. Fluke.
Oh, really? Do we not stand Hillary in this house?
I mean,
she's okay.
she's fine.
She's fine, but I mean, I think that those are very specific circumstances that she
Yeah,
won
yeah.
both of those categories.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lightning in a bottle.
There you go.
Yep.
Lightning in a bottle.
Mhm.
Fluke.
It could be happening.
Tomato,
It
tomato.
could be happening to Emma Stone next year. Who knows?
Oh, with that
He's given
movie.
Emma Stone Best Actress.
I
This
think
movie hasn't come out
Emma
yet.
Stone's going to win.
that
He's
Lagos movie, right?
Yeah, the Yorgos Lanthimos. He's handing her Best Actress.
I have a
today.
feeling Emma's going to have 2 Best Actress Oscars.
Yeah, movie ain't even out yet. We saw a trailer for it.
Oh yeah, the trailer.
I think
incredible.
it looks beautiful.
It looks so
I'm
cool.
So here for it.
Yeah.
yeah. Best Actress. You heard it here first, folks.
Oh my gosh, this Sounds of the Lambs episode. I mean, this is not the AFI Sounds of the Lambs episode where we're doing like a critical analysis.
A critical analysis of
It's
it,
kind
no.
of going all over the
It
place,
is going
but I love
off
it,
the
though.
rails a
because,
little
and it's
bit,
also
but-
one of those things that, like, what more can you say about this movie? Just because
it's already been said.
it's already been said. I mean, there's no need to even do a beat by beat recap of this movie.
Absolutely not.
Just because it's so just ingrained in pop culture. I
Yeah.
mean, okay, so when we just watched it this afternoon,
Yep.
right before we recorded. I love to watch the movies with the guests. We don't do it a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah.
What's kind of your favorite scene of the movie? Of looking
Oh, okay. Favorite.
like, when do you think the movie is most effective? I'll go first.
You go first. I'm
So
yeah.
I think that there is something about Clarice going into the storage unit that I find I'm on the edge of my seat.
That scene is scary as
I am on
fuck.
the edge of my seat
That's-
when she's with
to me, because I'm like,
when she's prying that door open with that
Yeah.
little old man.
I'm gamer nerd, and so that's where like I'm
Sure.
like,
Is-
okay, this is the
something
video
gonna-
game scene that
is like a Last of Us
some bitch is gonna
monster
pop out
gonna
at
like
me.
pop out at you.
Silence of the Lambs video game.
Yes.
Could you imagine?
Yes. R2 scans the room.
Yeah.
R2 scans the room, and he gives you like little points to go and investigate. Love it.
But yeah, of just her
It's a
like
good scene.
like cranking that door up with that little old man. And I love that scene because he
The
says
little
that,
old man
he
who
says that
owns
I'm going to
the
help
storage
you.
unit.
I'm going to help you. But
And
you
he's like
can-
Mr.
you can-
Burns.
You can kind
Yeah.
of see that
He's all
that
frail.
like Clarice is fully doing all of the work
Yeah.
by herself.
She's like, bitch, you're not doing anything. Yeah. So I really like right after that scene where she goes in the rain
Sure.
in her Pinto
Back to
because she
the
drives
asylum.
a Ford Pinto.
Iconic.
If you're of a certain age or older, you know that a Pinto is a piece of shit car. And it's like, as a kid, I was never like, oh, she drives a Pinto. How sad. But now I'm like, oh my God, Clarice is clearly, girl. It's that thing of like, you think like, I don't know what people kind of expect, maybe
the police force,
an FBI agent.
the police
Yeah.
force and FBI. I mean, it's a government job.
It's a
Government
job.
job.
Yeah,
She,
yeah.
you know, came from nothing. She's probably working her way through school. She's
And
Yeah.
as a kid and to this day, when Dr. Lecter is like reading her to filth, and it's like
Your good bag and your
come in
cheap
here with your
shoes.
good bag and your
You look like a
cheap
rube.
shoes.
a well-scrubbed hustling rube with a little taste.
And she is in there
Yeah.
with some Payless Roach Stompers on. Like,
Yeah.
girl.
Yeah.
I mean, she was just
Get your
like,
shit
I mean,
together.
she was just like running up that hill like a
Literally.
mere hour and a half earlier, and then
in her,
she had to.
in her gray sweats
then,
and white.
I mean,
yeah.
I just kind of put myself in the position of Clarice of that. She's given this by Scott Glenn.
Yeah.
You have to be there
Yeah, go
within
now, yeah.
an hour.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you have to get your ass home, like, look somewhat presentable.
Hope
Yeah.
there's gas in that Pinot.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get your shit together,
Yeah.
get your temp badge, and drive
Yeah.
to Baltimore.
No, when she goes in the second time and she's like sitting crisscross applesauce
Yeah.
at the plexiglass.
Pretty much,
Eye level
pretty much
with-
being
Eye level.
told, pretty much being told everything that she shouldn't be doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because they said stand back, and at the
Yeah.
very beginning, he's like, "Show me your badge," and she's like, "Here it is,
Closer.
here it is," all far away.
Closer.
Yeah. And this time she goes and she's like, "Boom, I'm right here.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this shit.
Yeah.
What the fuck did you just send me to go look for?" So that's when she's like, "All right, this is me and you. We got something going on here." That I always love that scene.
I would say two scenes stand out. The one where he's being wheeled to Senator Martin. I think it's
Oh
like
my
Hannibal at his
God.
most
Oh.
manipulative. And just the score is like just
Yeah.
so amazing.
I mean, it's what you
Yeah.
think of when you think of
What did she say?
think of Hannibal Lecter. You think
Yeah.
of that scene.
Exactly.
Did she say, "Get this animal out of here"?
Get this thing
Get
back
this
to
thing
Baltimore.
back to
When he's like,
Baltimore.
love your suit.
Buffalo Bill's real name is Louis Friend. I met him just once. He was referred to me in April or May 1980 by my patient Benjamin Raspel. They were lovers, you see. But Raspel had become very frightened. Apparently, Louis had murdered a transient and done things with the skin.
We need his address and a physical description.
Tell me, Senator, did you nurse Catherine yourself?
What?
Did you breastfeed her?
Now, wait a minute.
Yes, I did.
Toughened your nipples, didn't it?
Oh, son of a bitch.
Amputate a man's leg and he can still feel it tickling. Tell me, Mom, when your little girl is on the slab, where will it tickle you?
Take this thing back to Baltimore.
5'10", strongly built, about 180 pounds. Hair blonde, eyes pale blue. He'd be about 35 now. He said he lived in Philadelphia, but may have lied. That's all I can remember, Mom. But if I think of any more, I will let you know. Oh, and Senator, just one more thing. Love your suit.
She's fierce too.
She is fierce. Yeah.
With her like sensible politician bob.
That actress is in Straight Jacket with Joan Crawford. Did you know that? It's Diane Baker.
Oh, she's a teenager in that.
She is in Straight
Wow.
Jacket
Oh,
with
wow.
Joan Crawford. She is also in Marnie, directed by
Hitchcock. Wow.
I think also the scene when he's in the temp cell in Tennessee.
Sure.
When she's giving him his papers back,
Yeah.
and it's like when she runs up to grab the case file again, and he like lightly touches her hand.
Oh.
I often
The little
misremember.
finger.
Okay, so I often misremember that I think the big Lambs monologue where she's talking about running away from the
Is in the
farm in
dungeon?
Montana. I think it's at the asylum
Yeah.
in the
but it's
dungeon.
not, yeah.
But yeah, it's in that courthouse room.
Yeah, it's in the Natural History Museum
Wherever
like,
they
where
are.
they?
Yeah.
They're like, use this room.
Yeah.
Conference room B.
Love that scene.
Yeah, no,
so
great.
good.
Yeah, absolutely. No, there's some iconic shit in this.
Oh, iconic. Yeah.
Yeah. We were kind of joking around earlier. There's scenes where he's like using this in Buffalo Bill is using this like industrial sewing machine on like the skin.
Yeah.
And we're having this conversation amongst ourselves of like, is he making leather?
What is he
like,
doing?
Is
Yeah.
like, is he tanning these hides? Like, what's happening? Because it looks at that point, it looks like people's skin. It looks like human skin.
Yeah.
And
I
we were
imagine-
speculating, like, does he? I mean, he has to tan it.
Yeah.
But I feel like if you were to tan human skin, it would kind of
Wouldn't it just fall
more
apart?
leathery.
Right?
or fall apart. Maybe I don't know nothing about tannin, no hides.
I don't know
that's
nothing
your
about-
that's your territory. Would human skin not hold up to tanning? I think it would.
I'm sure it would because
I'm sure it would.
we were talking
Yeah,
about
Ed Gein.
Yeah,
Ed Gein
Sure.
did it.
I mean, Ed Gein figured it
Yeah,
out. He
yeah.
made that lamp.
Yeah, but I just had this thought in my head as he's like running it through the sewing machine.
Well,
and
and
he's
then
like,
there's-
everywhere you look, there's a hem.
Does he have little like pins in his mouth?
There's a hem everywhere
Yeah.
you look. There's a hem.
There's also in the close up, and luckily this restoration is really cool. You can see his fingers are like the fingertips are all like
Yeah.
brown. It looks like from like tan. Like
Oh, sure.
Tanner.
From yeah.
And then there's that split second where she's running through the maze of the basement, and you actually see the suit on
Yes.
the mannequin.
Yeah.
and you see
Ooh.
how like jacked up
Ooh.
it looks.
Yeah, it's
Like-
pretty crazy.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
This
He's got
isn't
boobies.
This isn't fooling anybody.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's the suit on the dress form is like that's a slap in the face, and that's a moment that you remember.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh my god.
yeah.
Ooh.
But I love that like the movie doesn't call attention to it.
No,
It just
not at
kind of,
all.
Like
You don't even get a good shot
there.
of all
No.
of the
Yeah.
costumes, too.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the camera pans, but you can't really get a good look at all of
Yeah.
them.
But the lady suit that he's made
Sure.
up to this point without, Catherine's bit.
I mean, if this was like a season of American Horror Story, you would be seeing like a
Oh,
full
yeah.
like lip sync number in the suit. Just because I mean, that show tends to kind of go there and just show
to like an Edith Piaf
and just
song
kind
or
of
something.
show all of it.
I'm surprised there
Yeah.
hasn't been like like the Boulay Brothers, like their Dragula show. Like,
Yeah.
Night of 1,000 Buffalo Bills.
Well, they kind of do. Well, they kind of do the Buffalo Bill character in Asylum with Zachary Quinto.
Oh, you're right.
Well, he's more of an Ed Gein kind
Yeah,
of.
he's more of an Ed Gein.
yeah.
And Brooke Smith is on that season. I believe that she's playing a psychologist.
Okay. all
Yep.
right,
So, I
all
mean,
right.
and there's kind of like, I mean, it's
Tie-in.
I need to watch
it's immediately
Asylum again.
referencing it.
I do need to watch Asylum again as
Asylum
well.
is
I agree.
one of
Yeah,
the,
it was so
I think
good.
Asylum and Coven are probably the like the
And
most-
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a while since
We're
we've-
big Murder House people.
It's been a while since
Yeah,
we've
the OG,
watched
yeah.
since we've watched those seasons, but I think that even in that scene, I think that Brooke Smith is in a therapy session with Zachary Quinto.
Sure.
And yeah, I mean,
It's all tied
and that's when it kind of
together,
ties in
yeah.
together of like, oh, it's like
Yeah.
a skin lamp.
Yeah.
Like he was wanting to make like
Yeah.
a garment out of Brooke Smith. So it's just kind of all those little light bulbs are going off in your head as you're watching that
Yeah.
scene.
Yeah. So that's just smart. So we give Ryan Murphy some.
We'll give him his flowers.
We give him some flowers here and there.
I'm looking forward. Okay, so I am looking forward to the Feud Capote season. I don't know when that's going to come out.
Is that actually happening?
Yeah.
Okay.
They've
It's
shot
like
it.
it's shot. Yeah.
It's with Naomi Watts and I can't remember who plays Truman Capote. Yeah.
Is it Toby Jones? It just because
I mean, it should be, but
It's Evan Peters
is it really?
in a fat suit. No, it's not.
Okay, I was gonna say
It's Evan Peters in a fat
that
suit.
will be cool. We do. Weren't they supposed to do Charles and Diana and then like
They were, but they
scrapped
canned it. Yeah.
I think that they just felt like
the Crown?
the Crown just kind of
stole
goofed
their
them.
thunder? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, shit. I'm not saying that this episode went off the rails.
This
Oh,
episode
it's,
went off the.
I
I
like
will say that as
the
your
re-
guess.
The
But
Truman
in the best
Capote
way,
from
though.
Feud is Tom Hollander. But yeah, this episode of Silence of the Lambs.
No, I love it. This is a fun episode.
It's a fun, out of
So
control
good.
episode, and a good start to our spooky lineup. We're going to be talking about some fun movies this year,
You've got a good
or
lineup.
this month. Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But Donovan,
Yeah.
this was so much fun.
Donovan,
Always.
what are some of your favorite things to do during the month of October? What's kind of like stuff that you have to cross off your list?
During the month
Every
of October. Okay, that's a
Halloween.
great question. I have to do a Universal Monsters rewatch,
Yes.
and luckily, I mean, I have all of them on Blu-ray, but usually you can watch them on Peacock. I think like Criterion.
Peacock
Channel
usually has all of them.
too.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're great movies if you just need something to snuggle up with while you
Yeah.
go to sleep.
Yeah.
Definitely got to hit up a haunt or two. Knott's or Universal,
Yeah.
whatever your preference is.
Universal's supposed to be a mess this year.
Oh, really?
Yeah. All the TikToks
Like,
are like,
if
it
you don't
looks
have that
wild.
express pass,
Yeah.
like, don't even bother
I just
going.
want to
You're
see
gonna
the
do, like-
Dancing Megans. That's all I'm there for. Yeah.
That's so like Jay Leno, like Dancing Megan.
Bring it.
With the dancing Edos.
Yes.
Have you ever done a corn maze?
I have not.
They're actually
No.
fun.
Okay,
They're
I'm
actually
down.
I wanna
fun.
do a corn
If you go
maze.
at night, I love a corn maze.
Yeah.
I'm good at a corn maze. I've like solved corn mazes in my day.
Yeah.
They're actually. I haven't done a haunted one. I've just done like nighttime ones, but they're actually pretty fun. Yeah, in the spooky ooky season.
Yeah.
So we have a Blu-ray collection of the Universal monsters, and it has the color Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah.
Garbage.
Which is kind of a snooze.
Not good.
It is. It's terrible.
Kind of boring.
Yeah.
And I want to watch the like.
You wanna watch the Lon Chaney one.
Lon Chaney.
Yeah.
So, but I'm sure that's on YouTube.
I'm sure you can
gotta
just watch
be,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
Public domain.
Public domain.
I'm
This
sure
is
it's on
some, like-
Tubi or some streaming platform.
This is like some 100-year-old movie.
Yeah.
Okay, so the other night when we were trying to find something to go to bed to,
Yeah.
we put on Todd Browning's Dracula.
Fabulous.
And at first we put on a streaming edition of it
Oh,
Okay.
that
garbage.
did not have the score. It has the
I mean,
opening.
it's the
it
original
has
version.
the opening Swan Lake
Yeah.
theme, but people
Oh.
don't really remember that movie does not have a score.
No, it doesn't. It's completely silent.
It is
Yeah.
very pitchy.
And it's there's a hissing.
There's like a
sound through the whole movie
The entire time.
because
Yeah.
it's so old
Yep.
that even the best transfers,
Yeah.
there's crackling,
Yeah.
the whole time. So I was like, let's just watch the Philip Glass score.
Sure.
Philip
And I
Glass
know
score.
that kind of
Sure,
Todd
yeah.
Browning, I think, has a reputation with directors of maybe not being hacky, but I think that movie is kind of not very well directed in parts.
Oh no.
It's
Yeah.
barely a sound movie.
It's barely a sound. I mean, this is an early sound
Yeah.
movie
Yeah.
that I know that I think that Todd Browning probably was known to have a drinking problem. That there are some scenes of that movie that are kind of a mess.
Yeah.
Bela Lugosi, on the other hand, like Chef's Kiss.
Yeah.
Like whenever he's on screen. So then we had to change it to the Philip Glass
The Philip
edition.
Glass score, yeah.
And that was very nice
Um,
to fall asleep to.
I don't remember when it is, but LA Opera is doing a screening of The Bride of Frankenstein with a new
Ooh.
score. And I really want to go. I think it's the end of October, like the 22nd or something like that.
Nice.
So if you are in the LA area, you should definitely check that out.
Yeah, we love Bride of Frankenstein.
Yeah.
So good. Elsa Lanchester is
October
so
27th through the 28th.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Work. Work. I love to watch the Spanish language Universal Dracula.
Alamo Drafthouse is showing it this year.
They sure are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never seen it.
If you have a DVD or a Blu-ray copy of the Todd Browning Dracula,
Comes with it. It's
You
always on
have the Spanish language version.
Yeah.
I hear that it's a better pass at Dracula.
The direction is a little different.
It is.
The direction's a little different. Yeah.
They're a little more scantily clad.
They are.
ladies.
The ladies
Yeah.
are a little bit more
You see
like
some bosom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not as puritanical.
I know you two are both huge Bram Stoker Dracula fans, which is, something that connects the three of us.
Yes.
Do you like to also show it to people who have never seen it before?
Yes.
Isn't it so much fun?
Yeah, I remember we showed it to our past guest from my own pride at Idaho that we had on last week, Marlene. We showed it to her for the first time a few years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she loved it.
I mean, oh, come on. Say what you will about Francis Ford Coppola. I mean, we watched a very good analysis of all the Dracula.
Cinemassacre did one.
Yeah, Cinemassacre.
That was a fun video.
You may know him as the angry video game nerd, the angry Nintendo nerd on YouTube. But he watched pretty much every adaptation of Dracula and ranked them in accordance to how faithful they were to the book.
Not personal preferences of which movie you appear.
And it came
like.
it came in second only to a 1977 BBC adaptation,
version. Yep.
which is on YouTube,
Yep.
the entire thing.
Yep.
And both of them were way higher than
Oh,
everything
for sure.
else as far as accuracy to the novel.
Yeah.
And Scott, you're in the middle of a Dracula reread right now.
Yeah, I'm reading Dracula right
Yeah.
now.
Fantastic. I love that.
Yeah, or like old tattered copy. But yeah, I mean, Dracula is just like, come on, get the fuck out of here. It's Dracula.
Yeah.
There's a Dracula line in this movie of when they're going up the elevator with the police officers and they look at her and they're just like, is it true that he's some sort of Dracula?
He's vampire. Oh, scary.
Is it true that he's some sort of vampire?
That cop who's just like, oh god,
Yeah.
I don't think I want to be here.
But it kind of opens up this universe of these are just like beat cops that are just like assigned to this courthouse to watch to kind of just
and that
hold
Hannibal
security.
Lecter is an urban legend as far away as Chicago from wherever he was over there. Yeah. Oh my God. But yeah, spooky season. We love it.
We love spooky season.
And we always say this. We don't need it to be October to watch a scary movie.
Oh no, we watch them 12 months out of the year.
Yeah.
So yeah. We love a Dracula rewatch. Yeah, Donovan, man.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, love you both so much.
Thank you. And this was a really fun episode. I hope listeners, we hope you enjoyed it.
Going on the ride with us.
A long-awaited Sounds of the Lambs episode that I was kind of nervous about just because I think with the community, a character like Buffalo Bill,
right.
It's just kind of it's a lightning rod.
It's touchy.
It's hard to talk about.
Yeah.
But also Ted Levine in this movie, great.
Serve.
Yeah.
Ted Levine is definitely a serve. But I mean, we may have polished off a magnum of Prosecco during this recording.
And also before we end this episode, you're about to be married.
This is true.
Congratulations, Donovan.
Speaking of spooky,
by the time this episode airs, you will be close to being a married woman.
I will be a married lady, Sadie, married lady. Oh, thank
officially
you.
off the market.
Thank you. Yeah.
Congratulations.
I am getting married on October 13th, which was intentional because it is a Friday.
We were married. In October.
It's a Friday the 13th. Yeah,
we were married in October, not on the 13th, though.
We were, yeah.
Love that. Yeah. So very, very exciting.
October's an underrated month for weddings.
Oh, talk to my wedding coordinator. They're like, October's the new June.
Yeah.
Oh, love it.
Oh, sure.
Okay,
I mean, it's kind of...
our friends are getting married in October as well.
Because people think it's the off season as they're planning it.
Mm-hmm. This is very true.
We started a trend.
You sure did.
6 years ago.
Trendsetters.
7 years ago?
Wow. 7 years?
I can't count.
7 years,
It
Pete.
will be 7 this October. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Congratulations.
I mean, so we've got a couple things to tell you.
Now a warning?
Just kidding. But yeah, congratulations on that. Thank you again for coming on our show.
Of course,
and obviously we'll have you on in the future for
something else that's on our list.
I mean,
we have a running list kind of.
And also, we're getting to the point in the podcast where listeners, we might be doing some rewatches.
Sure.
So
it's being talked about for the next season.
Oh, cool.
Of doing doing a movie again on the show.
Yeah. So that's an option. It's out there. We're putting it out to the universe.
Very cool.
She's manifesting.
Yes, ma'am.
So, yes, indeed. But thank you so much for coming on, friends. And we'll have you on again for something in the future.
Absolutely.
But until then, we'll play you out to
tucking right now.
As we speak. We are tucking. Thank you so much for coming on.
Ttake you.
Bye.
Bye.
And thank you so much for listening, everyone. Once again, Silence of the Lambs. What a great episode. We've been waiting for a long time to get to this one. And thank you so much to our guest, Donovan, for coming on. Always a great guest. So much fun. We love you, man. But yeah, Silence of the Lambs, you guys have stuck around. Oh, my goodness. Such fun. We've got a lot more spooky episodes coming at you for this Halloween season. But before we go, we have a new review, and we've got some Patreon shout-outs that we want to get to. So let's read our brand new review from Apple Podcasts. This is from Apple Podcast listener Jeremy Wayne 40. Fun and easy. This is a great podcast to listen to at any time. It's like the comfort food of podcasts. Love the hosts and their film choices. 5 stars. Thank you so much, Jeremy Wayne 40, Apple Podcast listener. If you listen on Apple Podcasts or if you have an iPhone, the podcast app is already pre-installed. Just open it up, search for Movies That Made Us Gay, give us 5 stars, and write us a review. We have a good amount of reviews. I'm liking it, but we could have more. We're counting on you guys to do it. It really helps us to get seen and for the show to kind of get spread across the internet. So head over to Apple Podcasts. If you're a Spotify listener, you can give us 5 stars. Smash that 5-star button. Now it is time for some Patreon shout-outs. We'd like to say a great big hello and thank you to all of our wonderful patrons, including some new ones like Tammy, Roberto, Brett, Tren, Daisy, Kelly, Chrissy, Stephen, Jake, Desiree, Laura, Thomas, Lori, Brenna, Jessa Rabbit, Lawrence, Alexis, Thomas, Millie, Ted, Benny, Melanie, Susan, JJ, Amy, Shelby, Jamie, Drew, Genevieve, Dawn, Josh, Emma, Melly, Aaron, Jessica, Nick and Shannon, Christine, and Rufino.
Thank you for being a friend.
You guys, thank you so much for being patrons. Head over to patreon.com/moviesthatmadeusgay. For more information, we've got lots of fun stuff coming at you. We've got over 30 Watch With Us commentary tracks where we watch a movie, record a commentary as we're watching it, and give you instructions on how to sync it up when you're watching the movie. You can stream the movie if you've got a DVD copy of it, a VHS, pop it in, hit play, and we'll give you instructions on how to sync up our episode. You just play it from your phone, it syncs up to the movie, and it's like you're watching it with us. Or you can just listen to it like you normally listen to a podcast episode in your car, in your AirPods, and it plays just as well that way. But that's at the $10 level. We also have some television episodes that we're doing. We just did one for The Adventures of Pete and Pete, and we have a lot more fun TV episodes on the way. I know we're doing My So-Called Life very soon, so if you're a fan of that show, head over to patreon.com for more information about those reviews and bonus episodes. Thank you so much for being listeners, you guys, and for being patrons. That's amazing. Like I said, we love it if you would rate and review us, give us those 5 stars, write those reviews on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and you can follow us on our socials. We are at Movies That Made Us Gay on Instagram. That's where we are the most active. Our followers are going up, you guys. Thank you so much. Any interaction, any likes, saves, comments, shares, all that stuff really does actually help us out in real time. And, we're almost at 3,000 followers, which is, hey, the more, the merrier, you guys. Spread the word on Instagram. We're also on X, formerly known as Twitter. We're on Threads. We're on Blue Sky. For those, we're at MTMUG Pod. We're not as active on those, but hey, give us a follow anyway. And if you want to follow our personals, my name's Pete. I'm at Peter Lasagna on Instagram and Twitter and X. And Scott is Scott Youngballer on Instagram, and you can follow his Letterboxd. Letterboxd might give you a good sneak peek into upcoming movies that we are reviewing if you follow along with Scott over on Letterboxd. So check that out. Until next week, everybody, thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.